Wilson County still have a crash blocking the right lane, 40 eastbound near Linwood Road. This is going to be there at Tucker's Crossroads. Understand from Channel 4, Lifelight was dispatched to that location. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, kids, here we are. Here we go. It's the Matt Murphy Radio Show underway for another day. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Allow me to get the pleasantries out of the way. We'll get this show lumbering under its own weight. Today is episode 733 of our gatherings together. Either noon to 3 or now 3 to 7 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It is also Locks for Trump Day 325, and I am free of my commitment. I was waiting to see a presidential inauguration, and boy, oh boy, did we see it yesterday. Hot and heavy and fast and furious. I am still basking in the warm afterglow of what was the presidential inauguration, with a flurry of actual activity that's going to impact lives and American citizens in a positive way, plus the glamour, the pomp and circumstance as it was in Washington, D.C. and beyond, as some of the balls happened well into the evening. How wonderful is it? How wonderful is it to see a president of the United States of America, although he be 78 years old, with the vitality to start early. I mean, they got up early at 5:30 in the morning, and they were there till late, and the dude probably got 3 hours of sleep last night. I probably got double the amount of sleep that Donald Trump got last night, and he has double the amount of energy that I have today, and I'm 51. I mean, that's saying something for our 47th president of the United States of America. We'll dissect it all. We'll continue giving you the opportunity to talk about your favorites, your best of, worst of, as it was on Inauguration Day 2025. You may communicate with us via the super text line or the phone line, 615-737-9986. I love turning a monologue into a dialogue. Love communing with you. 615-737-9986. At any point during the proceedings, if you want to voice your opinion, you may do so either via text or call at that aforementioned telephone number. You can also find us on a variety of platforms. You can watch the show. More on that in a moment. Listen to the show at 99.7 FM from Alabama to Kentucky and all points in between. Of course, we've got the app, and you can take us wherever you go on your smartphone or whatever technologies you might be using. Utilize the app by just typing in Supertalk 99.7 WTN or any variants thereof, and you'll find us on all of those platforms. And if we're not on a platform that you're using, just tell us about it, and we'll get on there. And then, of course, there's Supertalk TV. Supertalk TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. For the masochist in the listening audience, if you want to watch the proceedings, I don't know why you would want to watch a face made for radio, but if you do, there we are. Like and subscribe us. Would you do that? Would you do me that favor when you go over there and you look at me as you're saying, my goodness, that is an ugly man? Just go ahead and hit the thumbs up button and say, yeah, he's ugly.
And if you don't, we're going to do close-ups.
Ken Weaver, I like the way you're thinking. I always like the way you're thinking.
I mean, right up on our ugly faces.
Like I have one of these.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, like the old SCTV. What was it called?
SEC. I loved SCTV.
Oh, it was 3D's House of Horrors.
Oh, boy.
And John Candy's going, whoop, like holding a hot dog up to the camera, then pulling it away. But yeah, man, if you don't like and subscribe to us, we're going to get right up in the camera.
Up in your face. And you'll have to watch.
Yeah, you won't be able to turn the channel.
It'll be that kind of deal. That is brought to you by U.S. Pest, and we appreciate our friends at U.S. Pest bringing you every hour of the show and bringing you Super Talk TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. That is the voice of Ken Weaver. He's back in News Closet B, making sure that all of the headlines are covered. He does them twice an hour and whenever it breaks. In Chris Webber, normally behind the glass, making sure that everything everything that comes out of our speaker sounds as good as possible. Weber, a little under the weather today. Nothing to write home about. Should be back tomorrow. But here, looky here. It's KGB behind the glass.
Yes.
Pulling double duty. Little split shift, baby.
Yeah.
Huh?
I'm here.
How about that?
That's what go KGB.
Pure, unadulterated adrenaline. What's running through my body right now.
I bet. You're not an old man. You're a young buck. You're a young whippersnapper.
But these hours are going to make me old.
Yes, they will.
Yeah, they will.
I asked Ken, I asked KGB, I said, what time are you going to bed nowadays? Guess what he said?
4 o'clock?
No, he's a young buck. He's a young one.
6 o'clock.
He makes it till 6 p.m. 6 in the p.m.
Yes.
Oh, man. Look, man, y'all don't know this because he puts on this meek, mild persona in the morning time, but Dan Mandis of Nashville's Morning News, he'll crack the whip, boy.
Oh, he will.
You got to be ready. Ken, you know.
I know, man. You send me texts all the time with the letter C and then the word me after it.
You didn't want that.
I didn't want it at all.
You don't want a bit of it. What was what poll was this morning? What were you talking about, Dan's poll?
So it was. You almost got us in. You almost canceled the show entirely for the record.
Ken, did we talk about this yesterday? Dan's poll?
A little bit, yes.
Yeah. So
it got out of hand.
Dan's got a morning poll now. Dan's morning poll.
It's the Daily Dan poll. He came up with the name.
Daily Dan, sure. The Daily Dan poll. Yeah.
But
what was it this morning?
So it was about Pam Bondi and
did it get up early?
Come on, man.
What time did you get it up?
Oh, it's too late for this.
5 a.m. I mean, do y'all start it early in the morning? I'm just asking, KGB. I'm just asking about this survey that Dan is doing.
No matter what I say, it's gonna sound bad. No, it's over.
Y'all toss it out there. What was the subject matter of the poll?
So it was Pam Bondi, and it was because Merrick Garland, Jack Smith, nor Mayorkas got a pardon. It was the poll is if Pam Bondi becomes the AG, who do you want her to go after first in some sort of trial?
Who were my choices again?
Jack Smith, Merrick Garland, and Mayorkas. I can't pronounce that last first name.
Alejandro.
Should I shut off his mic, Ken?
I could go longer, but people get mad. They start angrily texting on the super text line.
Too late.
I didn't vote. Can I vote? Is it too late to vote?
No, vote, absolutely.
Mayorkas.
He was the undisputed, I think it was at the end, 66% of the vote was Mayorkas. Then it was Merrick Garland was second, and Jack Smith was a distant third.
Jack Smith's a minion. He's a nobody. Yeah. Was he doing things extracurricular to the Constitution of the United States? Yes, but he's a minion. He's a nobody. He's a has-been. He's a never was.
I think Mayorkas had more egregious things against him that are more important to go after.
No question. And ultimately, Jack Smith was a flunky of Garland. So if you're going to say Jack, you would say Merrick. So, yeah, I like it. Mm-hmm. I like it. If y'all haven't checked it out, Nashville's Morning News, where you can see Dan's morning poll every morning. Is that – it's the Daily Dan poll.
The DDP. Just call it the DDP. For the love of God. For the love of my job. Do you care? Do you like me?
How long a segment is it?
It's not a segment.
The short segment?
Come on, man.
Well,
it's never going to end.
What are you laughing about? I'm asking about this. I'm asking about this survey that the guy's doing.
Okay.
You're in there trashing
I'm going to go to
afternoon show up.
So I'm going to wake up tomorrow morning with gray hair thanks to Murphy.
Murphy says that Dan didn't do this kind of stuff before you came on the show. That's all I know.
Well, I did not, for the record, I was more than happy to put a poll up for the YouTube viewers. I just did not want it to be, I did not name it.
No, it's a great name. It's a great name.
I'm sure.
It's a great name. Memorable name. I guarantee you that thanks to me, nobody will ever forget that name.
No, it's over now.
There you go.
Text line will forever be innuendos for the rest of Dan Mandis' career.
So there's KGB. He is in the afternoon hours, and hopefully he'll be able to stay awake until 7 o'clock tonight when we hand off to Mark Levin. Your calls always appreciated at 615-737-9986. Donald Trump got so much done yesterday, huh? I mean, just incredible. Donald Trump, throughout the course of the inauguration, are you going to answer that or? I mean, the phone was ringing. That's what I was.
Well, I know the phone line checked up for you, but I guarantee you no one is calling right now.
Oh, well, they were.
Just give it a second.
They were. I'm just asking. We do things a little different in the afternoon, KGB.
Well, I can
attest to the
you
people.
that the lines are wide open.
Well, I was watching it ring.
Well, we all know that the phone lines are messed up at the moment, so it could be just a glitch because I've seen no one right now.
I'm going to do my monologue, and let's just go from there. All right. What an incredible day, and I understand that because I try to be nice to liberals. It's hard, y'all. It is a difficult task. I try to be kind to liberals, but if you remind yourself of the manner in which you felt and thought after 2020, understand something. They don't allow themselves to see what happened in 2020. They are mentally incapable of understanding that Joe Biden received 9 million mystery votes in 2020. Votes that magically disappeared by 2024 when we actually had some election rules that made sense. We actually had an election that was not conducted under the cloak of COVID. I'm not asking you to feel any compassion for these folks. I'm not asking you to feel badly for them. I would say this. I understand how they feel because I understand how disillusioned I felt in the aftermath of 2020. And the only way that you can compare the two is to understand that they don't get how it was taken from us in 2020. They're willing to accept anything given to them, even if it's given to them via cheating. They don't care about the cheating. All they care about is the winning. So yesterday, for the vast majority of Americans, was a good day. It was a wonderful transfer of power. It was a great feeling. I feel bad for my liberal friends, but I don't understand what they don't understand about Donald Trump. You have had 4 years of a presidency. You have had 4 years of him not being president. You had 4 years, liberals. You had 4 years to get the man. And let me tell you something. If you go after the man, what's the old saying? That if you try to kill the king and you miss, you're in a spot of bother. And they literally tried to kill him. Literally tried to assassinate him. So when I say that, for the most part, over the last 25 years of my radio career, I'm speaking in a figurative fashion. They literally tried to kill the guy and missed. And if that happens, woe be unto you. I don't believe that there will be a robust level of retribution going on over the next several weeks or months because, frankly, we have too much to do to get America back on her proper footing, to get our reputation back around the rest of the globe, to get jobs going again, to get inflation down again, to get our energy sector going again, to get drilling happening again, to get our border security back up and running. All of these things are priorities. Over and above any level of, it feels as if the only thing that the leftist media seems consumed with is A, retribution, and B, January 6th. That's it. And everything else, they're like, oh my goodness, I can't believe he's doing this. Oh my goodness, I can't believe he's doing this. Oh my, birthright citizenship. Have you not been paying attention? We all watched the same presidential election, right? Are you that excited or excitable about a president that's actually taking action on day one on the things that he promised to do? Do you not remember him in 2016? On that, he said that he was going to build the wall and make Mexico pay for it, and he never did that. Okay. What do you call shutting the border down? You know, the second greatest monetary export that the Mexican government has is people. They have a lot of fruits and a lot of veggies, and they have a lot of oil that they export as well. But they export people in the form of human beings that go and engage in labor-based activity not just in the United States of America, but in other countries as well, but primarily here. And then those individuals earn money and send it back to Mexico. So one of their greatest exports is human beings. And when they could no longer export their human beings, illegal labor across the southern border to get that money back into the Mexican economy, what did they do? They sat down with Donald Trump and renegotiated NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement, to make it more favorable for whom? America. What do you call that if not Mexico paying for it? Yeah, I've been hitting in Mexico to cut a check. Shut up. We have a president that not only has the energy level to get things done, but also is serious about the promises that he has made on the campaign trail. And I suppose that our friends on the political left are so accustomed to campaigns running like Democrats run them that maybe they're not used to all of this. You know, I understand that, Barack Obama makes all of these promises and then he doesn't fulfill the promises. And Joe Biden makes all of the same kind of promises that Barack Obama made and he doesn't fulfill his promises. And he blames everything else. He blames the Washington bureaucracy or Congress or whatever. Donald Trump is a guy that makes promises and does everything within his constitutional power to fulfill them. And so I understand that yesterday was a lot about what he could do, and some of yesterday was about what he wants to try to do on his own without having to depend on the role of Congress. And one of those things is birthright citizenship, and we'll talk to it today. We'll speak to it today. And I'm interested in your thoughts on it. But how incredibly refreshing amongst the pomp, amongst the circumstance, amongst the balls, with all of the fancy people in their fancy gowns and their fancy tuxedos, dancing and drinking and having a great time. This guy is getting it done. I said in the Cross with Chad, my favorite part of the day yesterday wasn't even close. I mean, there was a lot of good parts. Don't get me wrong. Watching DJT get back to the Oval Office with a stack of executive orders that he's signing, reversing so much of what Joe Biden has done, getting us out of the World Health Organization, ending birthright citizenship, immigration issues, shutting down, declaration of a national emergency on the southern border, and on and on and on and on and on it goes. Getting us out of the Paris Climate Accords, which mean nothing. And while he's doing it, all of these press people that have for the last 4 years been screamed and yelled at, if they're in these press people have like Stockholm syndrome, and he's answering questions. For 90 minutes, he's answering questions. I'm going to give you more on that. I'll take your telephone call, 615-737-9986. Your favorite part of the day yesterday, best of the day, worst of the day. We'll do that during the first hour of the show. Coming up in the 5 o'clock hour, House Majority Leader William Lamberth will stop by. We'll talk some state politics. We'll get into all of what's going on with the special session, which starts next Monday. That is all to come on the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, my fellas, are you feeling a little sluggish, run down, not yourself? Perhaps you've reached an age where you think, well, Matt, that's just the way that it goes. When you reach, 45, 50 years old, you're just not going to have that step or two that you used to have. It doesn't have to be that way, gentlemen. If you've lost a step in the gym or maybe doing work in the yard or maybe just working in your daily life, or perhaps this has manifested itself in bedroom activity, more intimate relationship-based activity. You don't have just to accept that this is the way that it is. We can get you back right. What you need to do is schedule an appointment with the Tennessee Men's Clinic and find out what's going on inside of your body. Maybe it's T-levels. And if that's the case, that is an easily fixable item that Tennessee Men's Clinic is happy to talk to you about. They have many different varieties of options for you, depending on the severity level and depending on where you are with those energy levels. But the first step is a telephone call. It is as discreet as it is professional. I want you to call the Tennessee Men's Clinic today. You can go online to find out more. Prior to doing so, TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. But go ahead and make that call. 2 locations, Franklin, Cool Springs area, and the original in Midtown. 615-208-9090. That's the number. 615-208-9090 for Tennessee Men's Clinic.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
Well, President Trump went to church today and got a lecture instead of a sermon from the bishop, who is a longtime critic of his. We'll tell you about it at 3:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you much, Mr. Ken Weaver. Is this the, she's in, it's a female, I think, in red and white, like a red sash with, I think I know this. I'm going to play this a little bit later on. I have this clip available, and I'm going to let Ken do the newscast, and then I'm going to do that because it is, well, just wait for it. You won't believe it. Roger is first up on the Matt Murphy Radio Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. What's up, Roger?
Not much. How are you doing?
I'm well.
Good. Hey, thanks for taking my call. Just got a quick question for you, more of an explanation. Trump didn't put his hand on the Bible yesterday, and I understand there's like a Corporate of America ceremony and a Republic of America ceremony, and I am not familiar with either one of those, so I was just looking for an explanation.
John Roberts, the Supreme Court Chief Judge. Are you there, Roger? I didn't lose you, did I?
I'm still here.
Yeah, John Rogers jumped the gun a little bit. He did not allow the family. If you watch the video, you'll see it.
Yes.
That he did not allow the family to get fully in position before he started asking Trump to take the oath. And I think that was what caused a lack of communication between the two. But obviously, he's taken the oath of office. I don't know if he redid it behind closed doors, but I don't know that I frankly don't think that there's anything to make of it, nor do I believe that it was intentional upon anyone's part, including John Roberts.
Okay, Perfect. Thank you so much. That's what I thought as well. But I saw some stuff online talking about that republic and the corporate, and I don't
know what any of that means.
Okay, perfect.
What is it? What is it called again? Say it again.
A corporate or corporation of America ceremony, and then a Republic of America ceremony.
What is that?
I have no clue. That's why I called.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll look. Corporation of America ceremony and Republic of America ceremony.
Yes.
I'll look it up, man. I'll see what I can find. Thank you, Roger, for the call. It's 31 after the hour. Time to get to the news with Ken Weaver on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We may get above freezing tomorrow here in Middle Tennessee, but right now I'm looking at snow on Bourbon Street. There was snow in Houston, Texas. It looks like it's going to be in Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia, too. Some places under blizzard warnings, full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. President Trump went to church today, and the pastor, who's a longtime critic of Trump, decided to take it upon herself to lecture the president on social issues for about 2.5 minutes. Here's a small clip of that.
I ask you to have mercy, Mr. President, on those in our communities whose children fear that their parents will be taken away.
Episcopal Bishop Marianne Edgar Buddy looking directly at Trump, the First Lady, Vice President J.D. Vance, and the Second Lady. Also, she brought up members of the LGBTQ community, whom the bishop says are from all political leanings and faiths and fear for their lives. President Trump targets several actions on Mexico that are sure to be points of contention over the next 4 years. We get more on that from Matt Rivers in Tijuana.
Trump designating some Mexican cartels as foreign terrorist organizations, not ruling out using military force here in Mexico last night. Those are red lines for the Mexican government. Also talking about tariffs, the threat from tariffs from the United States. Talking about Trump wanting to reinstate Remain in Mexico, that policy that forces asylum seekers to wait for their claims to be processed here. All of these things are things that the United States and Mexico will have to work together on if they're going to come to some sort of resolution in all of this.
Tennessee 2nd District Congressman Tim Burchett tells WTN's Chris Hand Show his two priorities as part of the Department of Government Efficiency are the Pentagon and education.
And I'm really looking forward to making some cuts, big cuts.
Burchett wants to get rid of the federal Department of Education and give that money to states, which he says will mean higher teacher salaries. And the other savings can be used to pay down the federal deficit. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. I am looking at a parking lot on I-40 eastbound in Wilson County. You've got the right lane blocked right there at Tucker's Crossroads by a crash involving several vehicles. Green Hills, we've got an injury crash. That's going to be at Hillsborough Pike and I-440. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Friends, Matt Murphy here for PAI Medical and We Grow Hair. If you want to look better and feel better about yourself in 2025, I encourage you to go to PAI Medical, the We Grow Hair people, and talk to them about your thinning or balding head. So I didn't know what I didn't know, and I went to PAI Medical, and I said, I think I might be thinning around the crown of my head. I'm not sure. They looked into it and they said, yes, as a matter of fact, you've got a little bit of thinning, not a lot, and much less than your average 51-year-old. But I got a very lumpy head, so I got to protect against that. I said, get to it, PAI Medical. And they had used their FDA-approved laser treatments. Absolutely love this. It's like less than 45 minutes a session, and it works. And now you're looking at these luscious locks for Trump as a result of PAI Medical. PAI Medical also has a plan for you no matter where you are in your stage of hair loss, like the ARTIS robotic FUE procedure, the multi-unit hair grafting, hair transplant procedure. You're guaranteed to grow hair. You're guaranteed to get hair back through PAI Medical and the We Grow Hair folks. Find out more at WeGrowHair.com. That's WeGrowHair.com, or call them 615-376-6010. 615-376-6010. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to We Grow Hair. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So I looked for, I forget the guy's name. What was his name? You remember his name?
Roger?
Roger, if you want to call back and give me additional information, I looked. Didn't he say Corporation of America and Republic of America?
Well,
I can't find anything on
We actually
it.
do have a caller that kind of had insight on that.
Daniel?
Correct.
Is it Daniel? Let's go to Daniel right now. It's the Matt Murphy Radio Show, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You can call us or text us, 615-737-9986. What's up, Daniel?
Hey, Matt, how's it going?
I'm great, man. I hope you are.
I'm outstanding. I just wanted to shed some light on your last caller. There's two constitutions. There's the United States Corporation, and there's the United States Republic, 1776 Republic, however you want to word it. After the Civil War, we were broke as a nation, and then President Grant took a loan from the Crown and the Vatican, and we became under their rule, is my understanding from the research I did. So there's two constitutions. Now, when President Trump was done with his first term, he signed some paperwork bankrupting, basically dissolving and bankrupting the United States corporation. We are a constitutional 1776 republic. That's what your previous caller was talking about and kind of explaining. I got all my notes on my computer. I'm at work, so I don't have everything right in front of me, but that's a kind of a condensed synopsis of it. Not a whole lot of people do the research, including, talking heads of radio, but that's what the last caller was trying to explain to you.
So you're saying there's two constitutions?
Yes.
Okay, so there's the one that we all know, and then there's another one that most of us aren't aware of.
Correct. The Constitution,
Where's that other one?
You're gonna have to do the research. I don't have my notes in front of me.
I'm just asking you off the top of your head. Can I find the other one somewhere? Or
you should be able to.
Yeah.
Like I.
And what are the based on your memory of your notes back at home? What's the difference between the two?
The language, the wording, the American flag with the golden tassels fringe around it is the corporation flag. The American flag without that is the actual republic that we were actually.
And this all started when we had to sell the country to the Vatican?
Not so much sell. It's just, I guess you could say that. It was after the Civil War. We were broke as a nation. And that's where we got it's my understanding, that's where we got the loan from, and we became under the rule of the Crown and the Vatican, much like Canada is under the rule of the Crown as well.
So is it the Crown or the Vatican? Which is it?
Crown.
That's the British?
Yes.
That's a lot different than the Vatican, right? So, I mean,
the Vatican is tied into it. Actually, the Vatican is tied into Washington, D.C., District of Columbia.
So what?
You want to go down that rabbit hole.
So every president since Ulysses S. Grant, according to this theory, is it okay if I call it a theory, Daniel? Is that what it is?
No, it's fact. It's out there. You got to look at it.
It's a fact.
And
okay.
if you want to, if you brought up,
since I'm just trying to clarify, I'm not trying to rush you, and I understand you don't have your notes, but I'm learning things today, Daniel. You're teaching me things. So the United States of America borrowed money from Great Britain and the Vatican, and since that time, since Ulysses S. Grant, every president and our nation generally has been governed by those entities. Yes,
and in all reality, President Trump is not the 47th president. Under the Republic, today, President Trump would be the 19th president of our Republic. But again, that's something talking heads need to do their research on.
Why do you think more people haven't talked about this, Daniel?
I don't know. I can't speak for them. I can just speak for myself.
Maybe because it's insane.
Insane according to who?
Me.
But is it insane because people don't want to actually find out what's actually going on with our country?
I mean,
because we've been lied to?
It's insane because it's not true.
Oh, I mean, that's your opinion. It's out there.
So what evidence do you have in the real world that the United States of America has been ruled by both the Catholic Church and the British since the 1870s?
You're going to have to do your research.
Oh, I'll have to do my own homework.
You're going to have to look that up.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can't tell. No, I'm asking you. We have 100,000 watts of power right now. You have the opportunity, Daniel, not many people are going to give you this, to get this very, very important information that people need to know about out to the public. But what I need, what your humble host needs is a little grain of something to help me believe this. You understand, this is earth-shattering for me. I'm 51 years old. This rocks my world, Daniel. I've never conceived of this, but you got to give me a little something to help me believe it. Right now, just a little something.
Matthew, I just did.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
I did too.
No,
I did.
You didn't.
I gave you just a little bit.
No, tell me how.
No. Listen. No.
Okay.
Listen. I'm not going to draw the whole picture for you. You got to do your due diligence, just like the rest of us do our due diligence on everything else.
What should I look up first? Just do that for me. What should I Google first? Or DuckDuckGo?
Look up the two constitutions, the corporation and republic.
All right,
Start
so
there.
I should type in the corporation and the republic constitutions or what? I mean, what should I type in, Daniel? Help me.
I just told you. Type those two in. Start there.
Type. Say it specifically. Type in.
Matt, you're an educated person.
No, I'm just
told
asking.
you.
What do I need to type in? What do I need to type? Corporation constitution or what?
Type in U.S. corporation, the crown, and try Constitution Republic.
U.S. corporation, the crown, and Constitution, the republic. Is that what you said?
Yes.
All right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to open my eyes today. Thank you, Daniel, for the call. I'm going to open my eyes today because we've got nothing better to do. We have nothing more important going on in the world than to run down this rabbit hole.
I just Googled it. Do you want me to say what immediately it says?
Yes.
All right. So I Googled U.S. corporation, the Crown. Immediately comes up, the United States does not have a corporation called the Crown.
Well, what? You're Googling?
Yes, this is straight. Okay. DuckDuckGo.
That's your problem, buddy boy. Come on, KGB.
Ask.com?
You
Like,
ought to
what
know
am I
better
going
than
with?
that. The Google machine is in on all of this.
All right.
They're in on it.
What search engine? Yahoo? AOL?
You know what? I think all these search engines are in on it.
Oh, that's good.
6380 says what you need to type in is Alex Jones. Oh, Alex has been right about 3 or 4 things in his life. Y'all don't get mad at Alex. All right. That answered my question. Daniel, thank you for answering my question. I appreciate you. I appreciate your call. I appreciate your contribution to the show today. I also appreciate Roger's call and his contribution to the show today. I suppose that is why Donald Trump did not put his hand on the Bible, because we are actually owned by the Brits and the Vatican, or maybe that he didn't put his hand on the Bible because we're no longer owned by the Vatican or the Brits, I suppose. So there you go. I did not realize that it was Conspiracy Theory Tuesday, but there you have it. 347 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. As far as other things that never happened, Elon Musk. Look, I understand why we would want to get all worked up about what the media is attempting to do with a great man by the name of Elon Musk. Inasmuch as, despite the fact that I can show you example after example after example, I can show you Kamala Harris, I can show you Barack Obama, I can show you Joe Biden. No, I can't show you Joe Biden because I don't think Joe could lift his hands over his head. But I can show you example after example of these leaders making gestures that might be considered the Nazi salute. So if you missed it, yesterday Elon Musk was talking about his heart goes out to you, and he put his hand on his heart, and then he threw his hand in the air to you, and he was gesturing to the crowd, and it vaguely looked like a Nazi salute. Oh, my God, he's saluting the Nazis right there in public. So stupid. They did this before, guys. They don't have anything new.
Oh, it's ramping up again, brother.
Y'all remember the OK sign? When Donald Trump, it is on, man. When Donald Trump became president of the United States in 2016, and he took the oath of office in 2017, in the aftermath of his taking the oath, the leftist minds, they cannot conceive of the fact that people think differently than them. They can't imagine that we live in a country big enough where there are differences of thought, and that those differences of thought actually went to the polls and voted for a guy that wanted to do things differently than they wanted it to happen. They think that you're all racist and you're all white power people or whatever. They bathe and they live and breathe and bathe in identity politics. And as a result, this is a coping mechanism for them. And the best that we can do is to tell them to grow up and grow a pair and move on. Obviously, Elon Musk, let me just show you this. Or let you hear this. Elon Musk is such a Nazi, according to the left, that several months ago he was sitting on a stage with the New York Times, and someone made mention of a chain that he was wearing around his neck. This is what he said.
Do you see this thing? Mm-hmm. Do you know what it is?
Why don't you tell everybody?
This says bring them home. The hostages. It was given to me by the parents of one of the hostages. And I said I would wear it as long as there was a hostage still remaining. And I have. The Jewish people have been persecuted for thousands of years. Everyone here has seen the massive demonstrations for Hamas in every major city in the West. That should be jarring.
There's Elon Musk, that the mainstream media is now calling a Nazi. No matter how much you hate them, you don't hate them enough. They are disturbed human beings. And they've done this before. They did it with the okay. Oh, everyone saying okay. And they remember the pictures of the police officers that were given the okay sign. Now, one, it's an okay sign. The three fingers up. And apparently somewhere down the road, somebody decided that the three fingers stood for a W and the circle stood for a P. And it stands for white power, and which is stupid. Does that mean that there aren't bad people in the world? Of course there are. But the liberals have decided that they're going to see a boogeyman at every corner, and instead of dealing with the big things, they're going to deal with the small things. It's disgusting. And they only do it in an attempt to destroy people that they don't like. They want to destroy people that they don't like. I want to live beside people that think differently than me in a country that's big enough to do that. They want to destroy you. 52 after the hour on Super Talk. Hey, friends, I'm so excited. Tomorrow I am headed off to the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief located in Franklin. Why? Because my back's been a little off. I feel a little pain in the lower back. And, the Dr. Gill Center made it right as rain the last time around. So it's been several months since I've been to the Dr. Gill Center. Oh, yes. I don't know if you knew this or not, but I'm not only a spokesperson for the Dr. Gill Center, I should say. I'm a client as well and have been since I first came to Nashville. So if you're in back pain, neck pain, knee pain, hip pain, elbow pain, wherever you hurt, I am here to tell you, as a spokesperson and as a client, the Dr. Gill Center is the place to go. They are friendly. They believe in getting you pain relief without having to have needles put into your body to block the pain, without having to pop pills, and without having to consider surgery. That's what it's all about. And they use every tool at their disposal. And those tools were brought here into Middle Tennessee by Dr. Gill himself, like spinal decompression. It's time to become pain-free in 2025. Make that call that so many others have made to the Dr. Gill Center, 615-882-4838, 882-4838, the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief in Franklin.
President Trump expected to make an announcement about artificial intelligence and a $500 billion investment, and Meta is coming under fire from Democrats who claim they woke up to find they were following President Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance. There's a simple solution. We'll tell you about it at 4 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Oh, that's pretty good. Oh, I've learned things today in the first hour of the Matt Murphy Show at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'll tell you what.
Is this what happens now at your new time slots?
No, and this is not typical. Something new happens every day, every moment of every day, KGB. That's the way that we roll. Now, Sam might have some additional. So I just don't. Here's my thing. I'm not knocking anybody. Well, there's music coming up in the background, Sam, so I'm not going to be able to get to you until next hour, but I'm not knocking anybody. I just don't understand what Roger or then subsequently whoever the other guy was, I forget, Daniel. I don't even understand the theory that we borrowed money from Great Britain and the Vatican in the 1870s, and because we did that, we were under their rule, and that makes us a corporation and not a union of states, and that we just broke from that. I don't understand the theory. I'm willing to learn and listen and laugh. 1 down, 3 to go. Matt Murphy Show. Hey, was Billy Ray Cyrus drunk or stoned? We'll find out next.
Four o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. And Karen Travers at the White House, where an announcement on artificial intelligence from President Trump is expected today.
President Trump's expected to announce $500 billion in private sector investment to build artificial intelligence infrastructure. It's a joint venture from 3 companies, OpenAI, SoftBank, and Oracle, and will collectively be called Stargate. It will open with a data center project in Texas and is expected to expand from there. $100 billion is expected to go out immediately. In December, Mr. Trump did an event at Mar-a-Lago with the CEO of SoftBank, who announced he agreed to invest $100 billion in the U.S. The CEO of OpenAI attended the inauguration swearing in yesterday.
Now, the Trump administration has fired Coast Guard Commandant Admiral Linda Fagan. Fagan became the first woman to lead a branch of the U.S. military in 2022. The Coast Guard Commandant is appointed for a 4-year term. She had served 2 years. A statement from a senior Department of Homeland Security official says Admiral Fagan was terminated, quote, because of her leadership deficiencies, operational failures, and inability to advance the strategic objectives of the U.S. Coast Guard. At least 22 states are now suing President Trump over his executive order limiting birthright citizenship. The states say it violates the Constitution. Here's Alex Stone.
The first line of the 14th Amendment says somebody born in the United States is a U.S. citizen, and for that reason, states are now suing, arguing President Trump's executive order is clearly unconstitutional and cannot be enforced. California Attorney General Rob Bonta.
I have one message for President Trump. I'll see you in court.
He and other attorneys general are asking a court for an immediate injunction to prevent the executive order from going into effect.
Tennessee 2nd District Congressman Tim Burchett telling WTN's Chris Hand Show he's not a fan of former Tennessee Commissioner of Education Penny Schwinn being named Deputy Secretary of Education under the new Trump administration.
And I'm going to let them know this isn't a good deal. We made a mistake.
Schwinn faced backlash during her time in Tennessee during the COVID-19 pandemic for supporting a policy of sending Tennessee Department of Health employees to homes to check on school-aged children. Some Facebook and Instagram users were surprised to find themselves automatically following the accounts of President Trump or Vice President Vance this week after the president was inaugurated. It's what happens when there's a change because the official POTUS and White House accounts are managed by the White House, and they change when the occupant changes. To unfollow an account you don't want to follow, just click the ellipsis on the profile page and click unfollow or block. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. All right, about 35 miles east of downtown Nashville, still got the right lane blocked 40 eastbound in Tucker's Crossroads because of a crash involving a tractor trailer. Now back here in Nashville, we've got a crash blocking the right shoulder in the West End. This is going to be 440 westbound right after West End Avenue, exit 1. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Here we are. Here we go. Just after 4 o'clock. Good afternoon. Welcome in. You miss a moment of the Matt Murphy Radio Show. I think you miss a lot, if I might be so bold. And the first hour was no exception of our Tuesday visit. It is January 21, the first full day having a 47th president of the United States of America. Or if you are to believe Roger, or I guess it was Daniel, who said Donald Trump's actually only our 19th president of the United States of America because he got us out of the from under the purview of the Vatican. That was the first hour conspiracy theory that I did not know was coming. And you know, my better judgment tells me to leave it to the first hour, but when have I ever used my better judgment? You can get involved in the show, 615-737-9986, 615-737-9986. That's the way to communicate with the show. A lot of you are already doing so on the super text line. I appreciate that. Many of you calling up the phone lines, and I appreciate that as well. We discussed in the first hour of the show the Episcopalian bishop that decided to. Now, this woman is well known in liberal circles. Her name is Marianne. Is it Buddy?
Yes, Edgar Buddy.
Okay. All right.
Marianne Edgar Buddy.
Marianne Edgar Buddy, who has a record of criticizing Donald Trump, who has a record of promoting, advancing, and being a part of very liberal causes. She was out on the street on the front lines in the aftermath of the George Floyd Summer of Love in 2020. And so there we are at an Episcopal church, and here she is wagging her finger at the newly elected president of the United States of America. A little audio there, KGB. Here is Marianne Edgar Buddy telling the president what for.
I ask you to have mercy upon the people in our country who are scared now. There are gay, lesbian, and transgender children in Democratic, Republican, and independent families. Some who fear for their lives.
Okay, so let's stop it right there for a moment. We're going to break this down. Sincere as I can possibly be, and I know that I can be sarcastic at times. I mean, I can be a real butt at times. I get it. I mean, I know. Trust me, I know. Why would any lesbian or gay person be in fear for their lives with Donald Trump as president of the United States? That is as sincere a question as I can ask. What has Donald Trump ever done? What has he ever said that would advance a feeling of fear within anyone within the United States of America? Now, I can point to you. Many countries, many religious practices that might strike fear in the heart of lesbian or gay people around the globe, maybe even here in the United States of America. I can understand why you might not like some things that certain people say. I can understand why you might not care for Donald Trump's politics. But I sincerely don't understand outside of getting bad information from bad people who know that they're giving bad information, why a gay or lesbian person would be in fear of anything with Donald Trump. What has he said or done that would suggest to you that he is going to act in any way that would have a negative impact in your life, specifically because you're gay or lesbian? Or transgender and grown? Now, I would disagree with my Episcopalian friend, Marianne Buddy, in as much as I understand that there are genuinely gender dysphoric people. I don't know of any transgender children that are afraid of Donald Trump, though. I don't really know of any transgender children. I don't know that you can fully understand whether or not you have gender dysphoria, which is happening in a minuscule portion of the population. Far fewer people are actually gender dysphoric than would call themselves transgender. But even if that's the case and we identify it before the age of majority, unless and until someone initiates that conversation with these young people, there's zero chance that these people are, quote, in fear, except that that is a fear that is incited in them by people that want them to be afraid because they hate Donald Trump. Donald Trump has done nothing but apply equally the law to every American citizen during his presidency, in the aftermath of his presidency, and in the first hours of his second term. So I don't know what this woman means, this Episcopal bishop means, Marianne Buddy, when she says that there are lesbians and gay people that are in genuine fear. In fear of what? What has Donald Trump done or said? Sincerest of questions. That would strike fear in you if you're gay. Tell me. I'm willing to listen. Hell, last hour I listened to a theory that suggested that Donald Trump wasn't the 47th president, that he was the 19th president of the United States of America, and that we were owned by the Vatican for over 100 years. Which I hate it that our guy on line one hung up. Didn't we have a guy that wanted to talk about the crown?
Oh, yes. Sam, I think his name was. We also had a guy named Anthony that wanted to dive in on that, too.
Are they believers in the theory?
They just said they had info, so I'm like 50-50 on that.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I'm good. I'm an open book.
And Roger did call back saying, I'm not the one that brought in this. Roger was the one that asked a logical question about the Bible part, about Trump putting a hand on the Bible, and Daniel decided just to dig a rabbit hole to China.
And I guess it's unfair for me to lump Roger in on this, but, Daniel went all in. Roger perhaps, I didn't know if he was baiting me for some reason or another, but Roger perhaps was asking a genuine question. Hey, I've heard that he didn't put his hand on the Bible. The reason Donald Trump did not put his hand on the Bible was because the timing of all of that was botched by John Roberts.
Correct.
Okay? John Roberts, the United States Supreme Court Justice, who is charged with the duty of administering the oath of office, has now screwed it up twice. Y'all remember that he screwed up, I don't think it was during Trump's first, I forget which one it was, but I think Robert screwed it up one time where they had to redo it, where they literally had to go behind the scenes and redo the oath of office because he screwed up the language of the oath of office. And this might have been during Trump's first term. So there's two screw-ups. He jumped the gun on it before everybody got up there and gathered around and the Bibles were there. But I do not know what this Episcopal priest is talking about. But let's just, I'll try not to interrupt her as best I can. This is a minute and 30 seconds. Earlier today, as Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, and their respective wives listened in.
I ask you to have mercy upon the people in our country who are scared now. There are gay, lesbian, and transgender children in Democratic, Republican, and independent families, some who fear for their lives.
So once again, why do they fear for their lives? Marianne Buddy doesn't say.
And the people The people who pick our crops and clean our office buildings, who labor in poultry farms and meatpacking plants, who wash the dishes after we eat in restaurants and work the night shifts in hospitals, they may not be citizens or have the proper documentation. But the vast majority of immigrants are not criminals. They pay taxes and are good neighbors. They are faithful members of our churches and mosques, synagogues, wadara, and temples.
Yeah, so let's unpack that for Marianne Buddy. Yes, there are many people in the United States of America that came here illegally that have never achieved documentation. To say that they are not criminals is, you know, I could take exception with it. I suppose I understand what you're talking about, meaning that outside of the criminal act of coming into the United States of America illegally, they have committed no further crimes, but coming into the United States of America is a crime, and so you become a criminal when you do that. Words mean things, ma'am. I would hope that as an Episcopal priest, you would understand that, as an Episcopal bishop, that you would understand that words have meaning and that you would use them appropriately. I guess that you want to rely on emotion in order to dictate to you how to move forward on this issue. I would ask Episcopal Bishop Marianne Buddy if I had the ability, with all due respect, what do you want us to do, ma'am? If you had the keys to the kingdom, which if you were Catholic, apparently you would, because, you know, the whole conspiracy theory, you own the United States. But I digress. If you had the keys to the kingdom, seriously, what would you do? Do you believe that we should have no border policy? That we should allow anyone and everyone that wants to come into the United States of America to, as you put it, wash dishes and clean up and pick crops? Which is mildly insulting, but I understand that many of the people that are here for labor-intensive jobs, but whatever. What would be your plan of action? I'm making you the decision maker, Marianne Buddy. I beg of you, tell me, what are we to do? What are we to do? Are we to open our borders up for anybody that wants to come in? Because, ma'am, the criminals come too. And outside of that, if you decide that your borders do not mean something, that your borders ought not to have walls and doors, that your borders ought not to have people that guard them to make sure that only those that we know about that come in a legal manner are to be in our country, then we no longer are a country. Without border sovereignty, the United States of America means nothing. Do you not understand that? Apparently you do not. And so I understand. I get it. People are, on the left, man. Oh, Marianne Buddy, she said it, boy. She spoke it. She delivered. Delivered what? If everyone were good and everyone were nice and everyone got up in the morning thinking the best of other people, then yeah, the world would be a great place. But that's not the case. Secondarily, if everyone wants, there's a reason that everyone wants to come to the United States of America, guys. Because we are great. Our greatness resides in the freedoms and the liberties that we enjoy in this country. But if we open our doors to everyone that wants to come, sadly, everyone does not achieve that level of. We do not continue to be the nation that people want to come to. We will become those nations that they are fleeing from. Not because of the people, but because of the influx of the individuals that come into this country and overrun the system. We can't allow everyone in. That is the reality of the world. And one would think that someone like Marianne Buddy would know it. Instead, she lives in this fantasy world that I lived in when I was a freshman in college. All right, 30 more seconds.
I ask you to have mercy, Mr. President, on those in our communities whose children fear that their parents will be taken away, and that you help those who are fleeing war zones and persecution in their own lands to find compassion and welcome here. Our God teaches us that we are to be merciful to the stranger, for we were all once strangers in this land.
Well, there you go. That's Marianne Buddy lecturing the President of the United States of America, seeming to believe that America is over, or that instead of welcoming a new president, she was delivering something along the lines of a eulogy for the United States of America, it seemed to me. Any thoughts on that? 21 after the hour. Bob and Justin will get to you in a moment on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hello, friends. It's Matt Murphy for Dr. Stephen Poss, Dr. Brian McLaughlin, and the Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solution Center. I am so pleased to tell you that I sleep so much better with my FDA-approved oral device brought to me by Dr. Stephen Poss. Years ago, I was talking with Dr. Poss, and I told him, I said, well, I don't snore that much. I mean, I snore a little on occasion, but it's not that robust snoring that you would associate with sleep apnea. And so I don't think I have sleep apnea. He said, have you taken a sleep test? And I said, no. He said, you should take a sleep test. And I did. And lo and behold, I have mild to moderate sleep apnea. And now my sleep apnea is being taken care of. Thank you to Dr. Stephen Poss. It's an FDA-approved oral device. It gently supports my jaw, holds it forward. I breathe better. I snore less without a hose, without a mask. Could not wear a CPAP machine if my life depended on it, but I wear my oral device, and I sleep better as a result. Let me tell you, they're in network with BCBS, Aetna, Cigna, United Healthcare, Medicare, preferred provider with TRICARE for the military. 2 locations to serve you, one in Brentwood, the other in Murfreesboro. If you're not sleeping well and you don't know why, you need to call. If you do know why and you are CPAP intolerant, you need to call. Do this for yourself, for your family, and for that loved one that has to deal with your snoring. Call the Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solution Center, Dr. Brian McLaughlin, Dr. Stephen Poss, drposs.com, drposs.com.
Well, U.S. senators have received new allegations against Defense Secretary nominee Pete Hegseth, and the FDA launching an investigation after more than a dozen cats have been killed or sickened by bird flu in their food. Details at 4:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Find us on your radio, 99.7 FM. You can find us on a variety of streaming applications. Just type in Super Talk 99.7 WTN or any variants thereof, and there you go. Whether it's on, TuneIn or iHeart, wherever you go, Spotify, Apple. I guess we're not podcasting on Apple. And then, of course, there's Super Talk TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, the television broadcast today entitled Matt Murphy Trying New Hairstyles. I am trying new. I got to figure it out, man. KGB, I got to figure it out.
I mean, you have so many options. The world is your oyster.
I know. I mean, it's long enough where I could do anything with this. I could perm it. I could maybe do a fro.
Have you done the getting out of the water and having your hair flip at the same time as you're exiting the water?
Yeah, the sexy look.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I do that every. You got an eyeball on my bathroom there? Habits there, KGB?
I said, do you? I didn't say you did.
Because, you're describing what I do every morning. I get out of the shower and I do it in slow motion. Slow motion.
I feel like you would hurt your back doing that, huh? Dr. Gill.
You
Dr.
don't
Gill.
have a camera because I hurt my I always wink at myself in the mirror and say, attaboy.
You know what's amazing? I could picture that because that's Murphy that's Weaver in a nutshell.
Yeah, I love it. I'm going to try that tomorrow morning, Ken. I'm going to just look at myself in the mirror, give myself a wink, and say, you got this, big guy.
Use the old pistol thumb.
Oh, yeah. The little dump, like.
I just look at myself in the mirror going, people will like you this time. It's gonna happen,
and
then I come to work and it doesn't happen.
I feel like that's just you're setting yourself up for disappointment.
I gotta come up with a better pump up phrase.
No, I got you, KGB. I got you. Ken Weaver and I have you. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Say this after me. You ready?
I'm scared now.
Okay. Say it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
You like you.
That's the.
Isn't that nice? It's like the old Stuart Smalley,
Take
right?
that, Mom. I like me.
Weaver remembers the old Stuart Smalley.
Stuart.
You remember the movie with Christian Slater and Patricia Arquette? It was called True Romance.
Oh, I do. Yes, sir.
I'm 29, Ken.
He'd look at himself in the mirror and he'd see Elvis behind him.
Oh, absolutely. He talked to Elvis during that film.
And Val Kilmer played Elvis. And he'd say, do you think I was cool, E? And he'd say, man, you were cooler than cool.
Cooler than cool. So that movie has one of the greatest monologues that I can't describe to anyone in the history of monologues between Christopher Walken and Dennis Hopper.
Yes.
When Dennis Hopper, and it's a death sentence for Dennis Hopper, and he knows it.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm spoiling anything for anybody.
Matt, by the way, in the chat line.
Just go ahead and interrupt my story, KG.
but
That's cool. That's good. I was just right in the middle of it, but that's cool.
You're going to love this, though.
Okay.
People are repeating what you were saying to me in the chat. People are going, I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like
Stuart Smalley. They know what Stuart Smalley is.
Yeah, people are repeating what you say.
Can I continue my story now, KGB?
No. Okay.
Can I have my show back? Is that okay? Is that okay with you?
I'm on fumes, so go for it.
Anyway, it's of no consequence. If you know the monologue, you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, it's great.
Oh, he goes.
It's outstanding.
And now you tell me, am I lying? And he knows he's going to kill him.
Yeah.
That's what he wants.
Yeah.
Wants it to happen quick.
Christopher Walken and Dennis Hopper.
Just sitting there together. So good. So good. Okay, so it's 4:30. Ken Weaver's newscast. Justin, Bob, and AJ, not necessarily in that order, talking about a number of things. Plus, I found an article on our two constitutions. I'm so very excited about that. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.4:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We might get above freezing tomorrow, Middle Tennessee. Thumbs up. Well, fingers crossed. We'll do thumbs up if it actually happens. Full forecast and traffic coming up in 5 minutes. Well, U.S. senators have received new allegations against Defense Secretary nominee Pete Hegseth. This is from a former sister-in-law who claims Hegseth's second wife feared for her safety. Hegseth denies this claim, and so does the ex-second wife, who claims there was no physical abuse in the marriage. This former sister-in-law, Danielle Hegseth, submitted a sworn affidavit in response to a letter from a Rhode Island senator who is the Senate Armed Services Committee ranking member, who says he's been concerned that the background check process has been inadequate. The Food and Drug Administration launching an investigation after more than a dozen cats have been killed or sickened by bird flu spreading in raw food products. The probe's to figure out how it's getting into the pet food supply chain. Cases have been in California, Colorado, Oregon, and Washington State. Tennessee 2nd District Congressman Tim Burchett telling WTN's Chris Hand he's not sure the weather is the real reason the inauguration yesterday was moved indoors.
You got to realize 14 million people came into this country illegally.
Yep.
And there is some people here from the Middle East. You know, I've been warned myself because of my bill about defunding the Taliban of just what's going on, and people ought to be frightened. They ought to be incredibly frightened, and our national media ought to be ashamed.
Money News, Netflix says it surpassed 300 million paid memberships during the fourth quarter, adding a record 19 million subscribers, taking in more than $10 billion. Says it plans to add more series and films and more live events and games, and raise your rates by $1 to $2 per month. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. And not looking that bad on the interstates. Once you get out of the loop downtown, it starts to get heavy again, 24 if you're eastbound there in Antioch. Then once you get to Smyrna, that starts loosening up. I'm seeing folks headed to Hendersonville running into some slowdowns there on 65. Same thing goes if you're headed to Clarksville, 24 after that 65 split. Got a little brake tapping going on there. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
There are a lot of diagnoses out there. There's a pill for everything. You know what I'm talking about, but not all diagnoses are accurate, and not all pills are good for you. It's Matt Murphy, and when you get a diagnosis for your European auto repair, I encourage you to get a second opinion before you make a major decision. Eurofix is the home for second opinions. Before you spend hundreds or even thousands of dollars on your European vehicle repair from a diagnosis, go to Eurofix. It could not only save your vehicle's life, but it could save you a tremendous amount of stress and a tremendous amount of money. Life's too short to be stressed out and angry. Be happy, and Eurofix makes you happy. At Eurofix, you get a free 15-minute no-wrench inspection with an estimate at every visit. Not any high-pressure sales tactic. At Eurofix, you get a 3-year nationwide warranty and a free loaner car with every repair appointment. At Eurofix, you never pay dealer prices. Franklin, 100 Oaks, Murfreesboro, Belmead, and right now in Mount Juliet across from the Dairy Queen. Call 844-EUROFIX. That's 844-EUROFIX. Or visit myeurofix.com. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Eurofix. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Lots of reaction to Marianne Booty, the Episcopal bishop who decided she would use Donald Trump's first full day in office to lecture him on what he needs to do regarding the southern border, particularly, and I say, transgender issues as well. We continue to discuss 615-737-9986. I also have been sent a number of articles on this theory that was explored in the first hour of the show with regard to the two constitutions of the United States of America. And this is an article that I was sent. Several of you have sent me this article. Two constitutions in the United States. The first was illegally suspended in favor of a Vatican crown corporation in 1871. I'm just going to read the first paragraph because it amuses me. Since 1871, the United States President and United States Congress has been playing politics under a different set of rules and policies. The American people do not know that there are two constitutions in the United States. The first was penned by the leaders of the newly independent states of the United States in 1776. On July 4th, 1776, the people claimed their independence from the crown, temporal authority of the Roman Catholic Pope. A constitutional republic, democratic republic, was born. And for 95 years, the United States people were free and independent. The freedom ended in 1871 when the original Constitution for the United States of America was changed to the Constitution of the United States of America. And then on it goes to talk about the second Constitution. So I have a difficult time relying on any piece of information that in the first paragraph gets such an essential thing wrong as they just claim that the first Constitution was written in 1776. Y'all might want to check your dates and check out something called the Articles of Confederation. Also, the Declaration of Independence was penned in July of 1776. The Constitution of the United States of America was ratified in 1789. It was created in 1787. So if you're going to try to convince me on this stupid theory, you might want to get certain basic facts correct before we go forward. And then we can go forward. All right, speaking of basic things, I want to share this with you. Otherwise, I'll forget. And we've got a guest coming up at the 5 o'clock hour. Just real quick, many of you have asked about Munson, my dog, who we had to take to the vet, and we got a little bad diagnosis of some cancer. We took him back to the vet today. And we got some bad news, good news situation. He does have a tumor in his anal duct, but it is operable, and we're going to have surgery for him next week. So for those of you asking, it does not seem to have metastasized anywhere else on his body. Munson is 9.5 years old. He's a good boy. Went to the oncologist today, and we saw the surgeon today, and we scheduled it for next week. Next Tuesday, we'll be going under the knife, and we're taking that tumor out, and it's about a 2-week recovery, and all things, God willing, should be okay after that. So it has not spread anywhere, and we're very, very lucky that that's the case. Lucky that we found it, as a matter of fact. So thank all of you for asking about Munson. I posted about him on my social media platforms, at Matt Murphy Show, a number of times, and you've been very kind to ask about my very, very good boy. Bob is next in Spring Hill. Bob, what is going on, my friend? Thank you for your patience. I appreciate you.
Yeah, sure, Matt. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
So this thing on preemptive pardons. So I've heard two sides of it. It's constitutional. It's not constitutional. I mean, I know Article 2, Section 2 of the Constitution gives the president, to grant reprieves and pardons for offenses against the United States. None of these people that were preemptively pardoned, had any offenses against the United States. So how can you pardon them when they haven't, committed any offenses against the United States? Having said that, don't you think Trump should challenge that and get it up to the Supreme Court to have them finally rule on that? Because I think if that's the case, presidents going forward are going to do that more and more and more. And next thing you know, Congress is never going to be able to go after any bad actors because a president preemptively pardons them. I just think somebody should challenge this.
Yeah, so the president of the United States has the power to pardon. They have the power to for commutation of a sentence, remission of a fine or restitution or reprieve. And you're right. It is a constitutionally debatable point as to whether or not the president can pardon an individual. So this is in it. The idea lies in this, that they're not pardoning an individual for something that they have not yet done. They are pardoning an individual for a case that has not yet been made against that individual that may or may not have committed a crime. I would suggest, in order to initiate a preemptive pardon, Bob, that the individual that you're preemptively pardoning has to, by necessity, admit guilt of the crime that they may or may not be charged with down the road. Does that make sense? So, in other words, if you want to engage in this preemptive pardon behavior, that's fine. But what we're going to need is a statement of fact that the individual committed the crimes that they may or may not be charged with down the road or that they are accused of.
Yeah, I mean, and that makes sense. I understand what you're saying. Then, then why doesn't Congress bring Fauci and some of these other people in under oath, asking questions, and then if they, perjure themselves, we can get them on that. Are they part of that?
Or what I would like to see is find the best. Find the best case. Like Hunter Biden's deal was not a preemptive pardon; it was just a blanket pardon, which is a little bit different. Right. Let's say Jim Biden. Okay, Jim Biden, the brother of Joe Biden. If he's the best case, let's just use him as an example. Someone within the Department of Justice needs to file charges against Jim Biden. Jim Biden will then immediately say, you can't file charges against me because I've been preemptively pardoned. And then that will, Bob, get it into the court system like we want. I agree with you. Someone at the Supreme Court level needs to help me understand exactly what the parameters are regarding preemptive pardons. Otherwise, Joe Biden has opened Pandora's box.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, and I would love to see it and do it and tell America why you are doing this. And thank you, Bob, for the call. We're not doing this just to get our jollies. We're not doing this even in the spirit of justice. This is not necessarily something that we're doing because in the grand scheme of things, the Bidens screwed America over. They earned a tidy living on the backs of the taxpaying citizens of the United States of America. The Biden family crime syndicate made millions of dollars in this regard, and I believe pardoning all of his family is ultimately an admission that that is the case. But getting justice for these octogenarians is almost a side issue to the point that Bob was making, and I agree with it fully. Where are we going with this concept of preemptive pardons? KGB, you've been accused of nothing. You've been accused of no crime. But I'm going to go ahead and pardon you just in case down the road somebody tries to swing back and accuse you of doing something wrong. You're going to be covered in all good, buddy. That doesn't make a lot of sense, does it? Should there not be at least an admission of a crime committed? At very least in the Hunter Biden case, we had charges against the individual, and by the nature of the pardon, you understood that there was an admission of guilt. There's also a concept under the law, and I was talking to a judge friend of mine from Alabama about this yesterday. There's also this concept that there must be an understanding of an admission of guilt in order for a pardon to be accepted at all. And by extension, if you accept a pardon, then you are no longer covered under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution of the United States. In other words, when you are compelled to testify before a House committee, a Senate committee, then you must tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. You cannot shield yourself behind self-incrimination because there's no danger of self-incrimination. Therefore, you can be held in contempt or you can be held for perjury if you violate your oath. I hope that answers your question, Bob. I'll have to look into the concept of preemption, but I think it is worthy, especially now that we're doing this. I mean, I suppose that Richard Nixon's was a preemptive pardon. And maybe some of you that have been studying this matter better than me can get into a few other examples. There are examples of preemptive pardons in American history. And I suppose that the Richard Nixon one is the best. I mean, I'm just trying to think if that would be any different. Now, he was obviously accused of, actions unbecoming the president of the United States of America. He was ultimately accused of doing things unseemly. He was going to be impeached. That is a political act. Richard Nixon was going to be removed from office. He would have been convicted in his impeachment. And that is all political. That has nothing to do with the legal system per se. That's the political system that we have in place for removing a president. The question was then, could they have gone further and charged him with criminal acts based on what he did and did not know regarding the Watergate break-in, and if that was going to be in the best interest of the country? And obviously Gerald Ford made the decision to offer a blanket and a preemptive pardon of Richard Nixon. Justin is next in the borough. Justin, thank you for calling the Matt Murphy Show. I hope you're well, sir.
Oh, yes, very well. Great show. Let's just go around and hand get out of jail free cards to everybody. Monopoly. It's about what it seems like. I was watching the inauguration live and saw the oath be given. Seems like they may have been trying to get it as close to noon as possible, and they were kind of in a hurry. It was like 12:01 as I watched the clock, so maybe that was why he didn't get it all together and get his hand on the Bible.
But that would make sense.
Yeah, just a little fast trying to hit it. But I was calling to share from my wife's perspective. She's a nurse, and something she said some time ago has stuck with me on the issue of transgender, trans-dysphoric youth. She once said about young people that, as a young lady, and I'll say this as gently as I can, that as young women in their youth start to mature, I think you'd be, and what all comes along with that, she said, I think you'd probably be pretty hard-pressed to find a young woman as they're maturing that doesn't want to be a little boy, because there's a lot, that little girls go through as they mature and hit puberty and grow that, young men don't, and they think, oh, well, I don't have to deal with that. So she's said, I think you'd be hard-pressed to find a little girl who doesn't want to be a little boy, and so that may be some to it. So anyway, still, for conversation, but I thought I'd share that.
Wait. I got distracted. I might have missed something. So she said that you would be hard. Say that last part again, the quote.
Her sentiment is, you'd be hard-pressed to find a young lady as they're maturing, hitting puberty, the things that come along with that with young ladies, who doesn't feel like or think being a boy would be a greater thing and to be a better deal, because they don't have to go through those things that young women do as they age. It's a lot different, more difficult, I would argue, and so would she.
Who is this again?
This is my wife speaking.
Oh, it's your wife.
This is something
okay.
This is something she shared with me some years ago.
I got it now. I thought your wife was relating something that somebody else said, but this is your wife's theory.
No.
I don't know.
Right,
I mean, sure. I suppose that, we all see I suppose that gender or sex is not that undifferent than, you see the way that the others are living, and you perhaps long for that in some circles. I know plenty of women that I would suggest have never necessarily had that feeling, but I don't know. I think it's dangerous to put adult emotions and mature thoughts into the brains of little people and expect that we're going to understand them.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
And so youth, you got to be real careful with, but help steer them in the correct way of thinking. But with confusion of youth, some little girls may think, oh, well, I can be a boy, and I wish I didn't have to go through these things.
I don't know. Here's what I would say.
Right.
Here's what you tell your wife. Tell your wife that Matt Murphy said there was a time that he remembers back in his day when his older brother wanted to be a donut. So there you go.
Well, bless his heart.
Or a chicken or whatever. I get it. Young kids have the mind of fantasy. That's an interesting point. Thank you, Justin, for the call. 51 after the hour, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Let's see. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought somebody was telling me that we had a low audible conversation on the line. 1011, is that legit? Well, I would have to know what it is, 1011, before I would be able to let you know whether it's legit or not. I'll tell you what is legit. We have to take a time out. What is also legit, we have House Majority Leader William Lamberth coming up in the 5 o'clock hour to talk to us about the special session that is coming up in less than a week. That is on the way on the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk. Hello, friends. Matt Murphy here for the one and only, the incomparable Glock Store. When I go to train, I go to the Glock Store, and I encourage you to do this as well because it's just a different training experience. It's a superior training experience to the one that you get in the normal lane setting because they don't do lanes at the Glock Store. They do rooms. You get a personal instructor with a private shooting room. That's why they call it the shoot270.com experience, right? Because you have 270 degrees of shooting ability in that room. After every session, you walk out a better, more confident shooter. And throughout the course of the month of January, you'll experience the thrill of shooting a full auto MP5. All you have to do is mention my name, Matt Murphy. Now, you could probably mention Chris Hand's name. You could probably mention Dan Mandis' name. I wouldn't encourage it. I would encourage mentioning my name, Matt Murphy, and you'll shoot a full auto H&K suppressed MP5. I'm going to do this Friday. Very excited about that. It's a $50 value. All you have to do is pay for the ammo. It's incredible. It's incomparable. It's the Glock Store. Retail space galore. They've got more Glocks than, every Glock. They have every Glock. Yet you do that when your name is the Glock Store. Minutes away from the airport and worth the drive from anywhere. Glockstore.com or shoot270.com.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Stargate. President Trump says, get ready to hear a lot about it. We'll tell you about it at 5 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Coming up right after that top of the hour newscast, which is about a minute from now, we've got House Majority Leader William Lamberth in studio with us. Going to be a very exciting conversation. Obviously, you guys heard Governor Bill Lee discussing on these airwaves in this studio the special session, his plan to call that special session on the 27th of this month. That plan's still in place, and we'll talk to House Majority Leader Lamberth about everything that they plan on getting covered during the special, and then what else is to come during the regular session, which will obviously follow the special session. That is on the way. We're halfway home right now. We also have a number of things to discuss, obviously, with regard to our new president, Donald J. Trump. Birthright citizenship is the one that I think is most intriguing to me with regard to the Constitution of the United States and where the Supreme Court's going to. This one's going to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court's going to decide what the word "and" means. I'm not kidding. That's where it all lies. What does the word "and" mean? We'll get into that in the 6 o'clock hour. Ken Weaver's newscast is right now at Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Five o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Looks like we may get above freezing tomorrow, Middle Tennessee. Keep your fingers crossed on that. But right now, we've got that winter storm going across the deep south. Just saw an image of the French Quarter there in New Orleans. And it looks like there's about a half foot of snow on the ground there in some parts of New Orleans. Full forecast and traffic coming up in 5 minutes. President Trump just announced $500 billion in private sector investment to build artificial intelligence infrastructure.
Together, these world-leading technology giants are announcing the formation of Stargate. So put that name down in your books, because I think you're going to hear a lot about it.
It's a joint venture from 3 companies, OpenAI, SoftBank, and Oracle. And they'll open with a data center project in Texas, and it's expected to expand from there. Trump was asked if his meeting today with House and Senate leadership resulted in a conclusion on that one big, beautiful spending bill he has asked for.
Pretty much. I think we have a good situation now. It's been in some ways made simpler by Los Angeles because they're going to need a lot of money. And generally speaking, I think you'll find that a lot of Democrats are going to be asking for help. So I think maybe that makes it more one-sided. I think we're going to do very well. Look, we're going to take care of Los Angeles. I'm going there. I'm going to North Carolina, which has been abandoned by the Democrats.
Now, it says he's going to North Carolina first. Trump has asked for one big spending bill to enact his border, energy, and tax policies as soon as possible. And he's still taking questions from the media. 18 states, led by New Jersey Attorney General Matt Platkin, filing a lawsuit against President Trump's executive order ending birthright citizenship.
It's an assault on the very text of the Constitution, a right that our nation made sure to codify in the 14th Amendment in the aftermath of the Dred Scott decision, one of the worst decisions the Supreme Court has ever issued, and following a civil war.
A new study suggests weight loss drugs have the potential to provide far more benefits to patients than weight loss alone. We get details from Rhiannon Alley.
Researchers looked into the records of more than 2.5 million patients in the Department of Veterans Affairs and found medications used for diabetes and weight loss under the brand names Ozempic, Wegovy, Zepbound, and Mounjaro reduce the risks for 175 medical conditions and diseases.
The study found the drugs approved by the FDA to treat obesity and diabetes also reduce the risk for pneumonia, sepsis, infections, blood clotting, liver cancer, to name a few. But researchers also found the drugs carried risks, including for gastrointestinal side effects, kidney stones, and inflammation of the kidneys and pancreas. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. All right, in Dixon, we've got a crash. Highway Patrol reporting 40 westbound as you're approaching exit 172. And in Madison, a crash blocking the left lane, 65 northbound, right after Old Hickory Boulevard, exit 92. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Here we go. It is the Matt Murphy Radio Show, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Happy to have you along for the ride. We are halfway home. Unplug it there, and she can plug it in over there, and she can find it over there. See, I'm directing traffic in here. I'm acting as air traffic controller in the studio. I hope that works. I might have screwed everything up. By the way, KGB, let everybody on the phones know that we're going to get to them. It might be a minute or two because we got a very special guest in studio, and I'm excited. Obviously, we're excited about President Donald J. Trump. We're excited about the inauguration. We're excited about his first full day in office, and we'll get more to that coming up in the next couple of minutes. But right now, we want to turn our attention back to state matters. Before we do, however, after I introduce our next guest, I will ask him his thoughts on everything that's gone down over the last 24, 36 hours. He is William Lamberth. He is the House Majority Leader in the House of Representatives in the Tennessee General Assembly. A lot of excitement about what is to come in the General Assembly and a special session of the General Assembly Assembly, which is set to begin next Monday. William Lamberth joins us in studio.
Well, Matt, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And I'm going to tell you, yesterday we were glued to our TV. Had a lot of folks reach out and say, "Man, are you in D.C.?" And I'm like, "No, I got elected as a state representative. I'm here in Tennessee working for you, where I got elected to work." There were some of my colleagues that went up there, but for me, this whole journey obviously started years ago. I was a Trump delegate last time when they canceled the convention for COVID and all that kind of junk, and now this time as well. And I went up to Milwaukee, and when they literally tried to assassinate our president when he was running. Okay, and he gets shot in the air, and I mean, but for a millimeter miracle by God himself, the man is dead. Okay, I mean that absolutely would have been a fact, and that happens right about the time I have got my stuff loaded up into my pickup truck, and I'm about to drive to Milwaukee for the Republican National Convention as a delegate for Trump. And I'm going to tell you, from that point forward, look, I was behind Trump. I supported him because of his policies. I thought he did a great job his first 4 years as president. Thought he really got screwed in his reelection, and I supported him. But once that happened, I think for me and a whole lot of Americans, this got real personal real fast. And so yesterday was really the culmination of that. They tried to imprison him, they indicted him, they tried to kill him, everything. And the guy just kept fighting. That whole fight with blood streaming off his face and everything else. I mean, that's Americanism right there. That is somebody that is showing us right there what we are to be Americans. No matter what else happens out there, no matter how many times you kick us and put us down, we're going to jump back up and keep fighting.
It occurs to me as you're talking, and maybe you agree, maybe you don't, but the growth in this man and his recognition of what America needs right now and everything that he's been through, all of the trials and travails that he's been through. You and I were talking right before we came on air about his selection as vice president. And I'm not here to cast aspersions against Mike Pence. There's plenty of people that are willing to do that, and I've done it in the past. But if you look at that alone, the difference between Mike Pence, a well-established D.C. guy, been in Congress before, understood the system, understood what was going on there. He picked a lot of these people from inside the Beltway first time around, and I don't begrudge him that. This time around, I mean, he understands the game that is being played better than he did the last time around, and he is ready to hit the ground running. I'm excited about it.
Oh, amen. And I will tell you, I mean, having grown up poor in my district, and a lot of people know my background and everything else. I mean, the whole J.D. Vance story. If you've not read Hillbilly Eulogy, we were talking about that before it came on. Don't just watch the Netflix special. I mean, read the book. I mean, actually read it, because this man came from nothing.
I'm reading it.
I wasn't bringing it up.
I know you're not, but I'm doing it. No, we were talking. He said, "Have you read it?" I said, "I've watched it."
It's a quick read.
Watch it. Read it now.
Read it. It's a quick read. But I'm going to tell you, to see his story. I mean, the whole rags to riches story that again is American exceptionalism. That you can start anywhere, and to see his mother on stage while he was being sworn in, see his family surrounding him, and they know his background. I mean, and look, it is the one country in the world where we know in our bones, just because you are poor or knocked down and out and on your last leg, okay, doesn't mean you're bad. Doesn't mean you're worthless. Doesn't mean that there is not value within you, because we are a country that is founded on Christian values where every single one of us has value and is loved, and we should support each other. And dadgummit, you should excel to the best of your ability. And all of us have that ability. That's where the Democrats screw up, and they get equity and equality mixed up. Every single one of us has an equal opportunity in this country, and what you do with it is up to you. And J.D. Vance is walking, talking proof of that. It's awesome.
No, it's an absolutely great story, and I'm excited to see what's going to happen in D.C. and across the United States of America over the course of the next 4 years. I'm excited to see what's happening in the state of Tennessee over the next several weeks. I mean, we got a lot of activity going on, obviously. You made a joke. You were joking. I'm going to call. You said, like, well, I mean, I don't know how special we can call these special sessions, because we've had a number of them over that. I mean, what number is this over the last, during your time up there?
I'm starting my 13th year in the General Assembly, and I think this is my 9th special session. Because if I remember correctly, I think Haslam had 2. And Governor Lee, I believe this will be his 6th that he's called, and we in the legislature called ourselves into session once. So I think if you do the math on that, I think it comes up to 9. So it's 8 or 9. It's right in there. I think I was here for both of Haslam's special sessions. So at this point, my wife has told me that they are not extraordinary. We did not need to call them extraordinary sessions anymore, and they certainly aren't special. We need to call them the every now and again when we think there's something we need to deal with right now session. But that's hard to put on a press release.
We have discussed it, Majority Leader, and I'm curious your thoughts on this. I get it. I completely get it. Talk to Governor Lee about it, his reasoning behind kind of subdividing priorities and I feel like we were close. The House and the Senate were a little bit had a bit of a difference of opinion last session about how to move forward with the Education Freedom Act, as it's now called. And they were so close. The feeling is that they have resolved some of those differences of opinion between the two bodies. And for the most part, you're ready to go with this. What say you?
Oh, absolutely. So last year in the House, I mean, look, there's 965,000 kids in K through 12 public schools. That's right now in our schools today. There's about 75,000 in private school. And these are rough estimates. I mean, give or take a couple thousand there. What we're talking about with this bill is 20,000 scholarships, and that's what they are. I mean, and look, I'm an attorney. I believe in exact definitions and in telling folks the truth based on facts. A voucher takes money from a public school and moves it to a private school. These are literally scholarships. They're not vouchers. We've had voucher bills in the past. We've had several of those. These are 20,000 scholarships. 10,000 of those scholarships will go to folks that are under a certain poverty level. 10,000 will be open to anybody. So since we've got 965,000 kids that are in public schools, and we're only talking 20,000 scholarships, then what we thought in the House last year, and this is where we kind of got sideways with the Senate, is there's a bunch of testing stuff. I think we overtest our kids. There's some of those that are unnecessary. There's some things that we put on our teachers that private schools, quite frankly, don't have to do. So if we're going to do scholarships for kids that go to private schools, maybe we should ease off some of those, restrictions and accountability measures that are on some of our teachers and just let them teach. And so we were trying to do a lot of that stuff in the House. And quite frankly, we put a bunch of stuff in the bill that wasn't in the original. And I think the Senate wanted to just stick with basically the original language. So for the special session, we've spent the last 6 months really everybody talking with each other, talking to our constituents, and coming back with a bill that really does stay true to, look, we're going to make sure to continue to fully support our public schools. We've put $3.8 billion new dollars of your tax dollars into K through 12 public schools over the last decade. When we finish this special session, we will spend almost $7 billion a year on K through 12 public schools. The scholarships, the 20,000 scholarships, will not come from that budget. It will come from the general fund, which is mainly sales tax dollars, to the tune of about $148 million. So we spend roughly $7 billion on K through 12 public schools. Right. It's additional money. So we're going to, above and beyond the $7 billion, will be about $148 million for these scholarships. And I really see this as a pilot program because these students are going to have to take nationally normed tests and everything else. And within a couple of years, we'll know, are they doing better, the same, or worse than their public school peers? And then we can decide to expand this program or not. But we put some restrictions on it where it would only expand by about 5,000 students per year. Again, within the realm of 965,000 students out there. So I think the House and the Senate are very much on the same page on this, and I look forward to the bill passing.
Is it part of your job to get the temperature of the House before a special session in terms of how quickly you think that this is going to move?
So we do that as a team effort. And so, I mean, I have two constituencies. I'm elected by my friends and neighbors that live in Sumner County that are in the 44th House District. That's my first responsibility to my folks back home as their state representative. And then I'm also elected by 74 of the Republicans. We have 75 Republicans out of 99. To all you out there in Tennessee, thank you for electing a supermajority. That's what allows us to get these conservative wins. But in being elected by my 74 other fellow Republicans, I talk to them all the time. I mean, I reach out to them. These are my friends. They're not just colleagues of mine. They are friends of mine. And so it may not be necessarily part of my responsibilities, but it's something I just do naturally because I enjoy talking to my fellow state representatives, and I learn from every one of them. They all have different strengths that they bring to the table. So Johnny Garrett's our whip. I mean, that's his primary job is to whip the votes and figure out where everybody is. On a bill like this, the governor, myself, Johnny, the speaker, really everybody, Chairman Faison, we've all talked to different members of the caucus to say, look, where are you on something like this? And quite frankly, if the governor didn't truly believe that the votes were there, I don't think he would have called a special session on this topic. Now, we have 3 other topics that we're going into, or really 4 other topics that we're going into in the special session.
You're obviously a part of leadership in the House of Representatives as majority leader, and some were criticizing leadership for removing members off of certain committees. I understand that that's under the purview of the Speaker of the House, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong, William. I know you will. But what do you say to that? I mean, for me, it's just a matter of it's simply a matter of priorities within a session and making sure that you've identified that which you believe the majority of the state of Tennessee wants to see accomplished and how easily you can achieve those.
Yeah, I've seen some of those same internet trolls out there kind of selling that kind of stuff. And look, it's junk. I mean, none of us were on any committees in the 114th General Assembly until we were assigned to committees. So nobody can be removed from a committee that you weren't on yet. So, for instance, I was on the Civil Justice Subcommittee last session. I'm not on the Civil Justice Subcommittee this year.
Oh, you got removed.
Oh, gracious. No, I just wasn't on any committees. And I'm perfectly fine with the committees I'm on. But the speaker looks at, like, where is everybody, where their skill set, where does it line up as far as with conflicts with other committees and everything, and quite frankly moves people around because we have new people that got elected. I mean, we've got 9 new state representatives. 7 of them are Republicans. We had 2 chairmen that lost their primaries. And so there are chairmanships that have to be, filled with the folks. The speaker changed some of the committee structure this year. So some of the committees got combined together, trying to be more efficient and everything, which I thought was good. So nobody's on any committees when we start a new 2-year session until the speaker, who does have full authority to decide who's on what committees, assigns people to committees. And so this whole thing out there where somebody was taking off this or taking off that, we've got some liberal members of the state legislature that have claimed that for years. I remember a Republican member years ago who got very sideways with the speaker and was literally taken off his committees for a couple of weeks. That happened. He was on committees and was taken off committees. Trust me, it's not subtle when something like that happens. All these people are saying that now. It's just not true.
How do you describe the difference? I mean, how different is the speed of action in a special? Obviously, you're far more focused as a body in as much as you are there to do what the governor has called you there to do. Talk about that for a minute.
So he has the governor has the constitutional authority to call us into special session. Our job is to show up and represent the people that have sent us there and elected us and be their voice during that special session. Same thing as a regular session. But a special session really hones it down. And for this particular special session, these are issues that are timely that we need to handle right now. Okay, so we'll handle Northeast Tennessee relief. I mean, disaster relief. That we've waited a couple of months here so that we could get back into session. The speaker sworn in, Speaker Pro Tem sworn in, all of that. And we've also needed to continue to coordinate with our friends in Northeast Tennessee on exactly what their needs are. And so we have that now, so we will do that first and foremost, and it's not connected to any of these other issues. I'll go ahead and say that right now. I've said it many times. These issues are not connected with each other. They are all just timely. We'll also have a bill that deals with future disasters. So to try to set up kind of a revolving loan fund for local governments so that we can prepare for the next disaster, not just help for the one that just happened, but protect for the next one and prepare for the next one. Education, which we've already talked about. And the reason that's timely is, one, I think that the support is there to go ahead and pass that bill. And then two, if we pass it now, they can get everything set up so that those children can take advantage of those scholarships as early as this fall. So this coming school year, which I think is important.
And the governor mentioned this. Not only would it maybe get lost or even overwhelm a General Assembly, because there's and I get that people don't live and breathe this like you do, William, or me, but they're like, well, why do they need a special session? They're in regular session. Why don't they just deal with it in a regular session? It is designed to gain a level of focus and to speed up the process. As you said, if you wait till the end of the regular session, I don't think you could do it by the fall, which is the goal.
It'd be tough. I mean, it'd really be tough. And also, I mean, it just, when you come in for very targeted issues like this, I mean, for instance, we'll come in on immigration. I mean, I think it is very timely that we do everything that we possibly can to help President Trump get illegal immigrants out of this state, period. I mean, it's something that we've tried to do for years, but quite frankly, with 4 years of a failed presidency and President Biden, and thank God he's gone and he's no longer in the White House, but it was open borders. It was mayhem. I mean, they would never even let us know when they were placing immigrants here. I mean, that's something that President Trump was extremely good at his first 4 years. He would reach out to the governors and say, look, we do have a certain number of asylum seekers that he was comfortable with. Do you want them in your state or not?
Right.
Well, that's a good way to do it. We also have a kind of a nuanced issue on roads that we'll deal with, but that has to be handled now to set it up. We passed a road bill a couple of years ago, and it allows some private companies to build some of these choice lanes, but we want to make double, triple sure that no debt that they might take out as a company would ever come back on the taxpayers of this state. Well, that's timely because I think they're working on those contracts and trying to get those going right now. And so you see what I mean? There's some very targeted issues that we can do right now and get them done. And just like I talked about earlier for the House, we want to work on less testing in schools and fair accountability for teachers. Not over accountability, but fair accountability. A little less than what it is now. Those issues can get caught up in a conversation with all the rest of this, when really once we finish the special session with what we're focused on here, we can move on to the other 1,000+ bills that we'll have that may deal with some of those issues.
And what, from a speed standpoint, the special is a little bit different functionally in that you can move things a little bit faster within that special. I mean, what would you expect? What would be, and tell me if this is a guess or if it's unfair to ask, but What do you think the time frame on the special would be?
So it takes us, 3 months plus usually to handle, 1,000 plus bills. We've purposely trimmed ourselves down this year to 12 bills a member. The good Lord got it done with 10 commandments. Surely to God, we can get it done with 10 bills a year, 12 bills now. So 12 bills a year. And I mean, it takes time to work through all that. With this, you're probably talking about 5 to 10 bills. I mean, it's a relatively tight call for the special session. So, I mean, I wouldn't anticipate more than 5 or 10 bills. Members can file whatever they want to within the call, but it is relatively tight. So with just 5 or 10 bills, I mean, it shouldn't take us more than really a week or two to work through a special session. And here's the beauty of it. We normally, in the first year of a special session, because I mentioned the chairman move around, the offices move around. I mean, there's a lot of movement in the building right now in Cordell Hull. Usually we take 2 years off or 2 weeks off during the first year of a 2-year session for all that move. Well, instead we're just taking one. So we're coming in a special session at a time when our guys would really normally be out. And we're saying no. In fact, not we, but the governor is saying no, come on back on the 27th and let's just get to work. And so instead of it being a second week of that, kind of planning and move, we're just going to be working on this.
Quick timeout. House Majority Leader William Lambert in studio with us. It's 22 after the hour. You're listening to the Matt Murphy Show. Any questions or comments? 615-737-9986 on the Super Text line. We'd love to hear from you. It is the Murphy Show on Super Talk. My mic will be live. I'll do a real quick live.
Yeah.
Hello, friends. It's Matt Murphy for Efficient Heating and Cooling. I mean, I don't know if anybody's noticed, but it's cold outside. I mean, really cold outside, bitterly cold. And if your heater's not working as it should, if it's not been as efficient as it should, then might you call Efficient Heating and Cooling? Jeff Eddy is the man with the plan. Jeff Eddy is good at what he does, and that is identifying problems and solving your issue without recommending necessarily that it's time for a new unit. And that's the bottom line, right? So you don't know when it's time, but your heater has a life cycle to it. You want to trust the person talking to you if they tell you that it's time to replace, because that's a big-time expense, and you're wasting money if you don't maximize the life of your heater. So if your heater's not working properly, all you want is the heat to come out correctly. Let Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling get with you. He will tell you, he will diagnose the issue, tell you what's wrong with the issue, and then move forward with the plan. And if it comes time, they're an Elite Pro partner with Rheem. They can recommend the right unit for you. Also, I should mention that with the winter season, they are recruiting. If you or someone you know is an HVAC technician or installer interested in a new opportunity, Efficient is growing. Efficient is hiring. And so we invite you to be a part of that by going to efficienthvac.net or call 615-784-4424, 784-4424 for Efficient.
Mass deportation operations have already started. We'll tell you about it at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN, 27 after the hour. We have locked these doors, and we have the Republican Majority Leader in the General Assembly in studio with us for a couple of additional moments, and then one segment after that. William Lamberth is in with us, talking about the special session that is coming. I want to roll through some of the objections that I hear, and I invite, by the way, for those of you, yes, I am a fan of the Education Freedom Act. I'm a fan of anything that gives parents a better ability to direct the education of their children, and I believe in competition. And I believe that this infuses a competition in the system that encourages public education to get better in the state of Tennessee. I think you would agree with that, William.
Oh, absolutely. And look, I mean, my children are in public school. We're in Sumner County. They're in some of the best schools in the state. I mean, my little brother's a 7th grade teacher, science and math. I mean, he does a great job. But not every county's like that. And not every parent is me. Not every parent is my wife and I. There are parents out there who are in a great school system that just simply feel like there is a private school that meets the specific needs of their child better. Now, if you're wealthy in this state, you have school choice right now. Why should that be something that is limited just to the wealthy? A scholarship like this is very similar to what we do with the Hope Scholarship. That is funded with state funds. Yes, lottery money, but those are still state funds that come in from Tennesseans. And that is a Hope Scholarship that goes to public and private colleges. All we're doing is setting up a scholarship that goes to private schools because we already spend roughly $7 billion on public schools. So it allows that freedom there for parents to really pick what's best for their child.
The governor, when he was with us earlier in the month, described because I was always of the understanding that money followed the child and the number of students dictates the amount of funding. And he described it as, look, we're not going to take money away from systems that might lose a portion of their population based on this. And he kind of called it a floor. We are setting a floor of funding for our public education systems moving forward. If they grow, they're obviously going to get some additional money, but they're not going to get less money as a result of this. Do you concur with that?
Absolutely. So again, a traditional voucher, and anytime anybody's ever talked about a voucher before, it takes money from a public school and the money follows the child. So in this state, roughly $7,050. And that money would be removed from a public school and go to a private school. In this bill, the one that I'm carrying for the governor, no public school can lose even 1 red cent for disenrollment. For any reason, not just for these scholarships, but for any reason. And the way we can do that is, just as I said, we've put $3.8 billion new dollars into K through 12 public schools over the last decade. We're going to continue to do that. There are 965,000 kids in public schools. We are talking about 20,000 scholarships, and we're going to fund them from the general fund and not take any money from our public schools. We want our public schools to be the best in the country.
I mean, it occurs to me that this is an additional investment in education. And it's a taxpayer investment in education, but you guys, because I get the, kind of the haters on the line saying, oh, they're spending more of our money. Well, yeah, I mean, it's $150 million more dollars coming out of the general fund. There's no question. But you believe that it is good money well spent in terms of improving the educational opportunities for parents and children.
Absolutely. And we are spending money that we have carefully saved within the budget, because every year in Tennessee, what we do is we spend less than what we bring in. We wind up running a surplus virtually every year for the last several years, the entire time Governor Lee has been in office, and most of the time Governor Haslam was in office. And the way we do that is we underestimate the amount of money that's going to come in from taxpayers. It's all your money. It doesn't belong to the state. That's the difference in us and other states and the federal government. That this doesn't belong to us. It belongs to you, the taxpayer. And so we underspend the budget, which creates a surplus. And last year, when we were going back and forth with the Senate on this very bill or a similar bill, we left $148 million in the budget unspent, recurring dollars set aside for this just in case it might come up down the road. And so that's how we're able to do that without putting more burden on the taxpayer.
One quick timeout. We've got Ken Weaver in the newsroom. He's got headlines coming up in a moment. We've got one more segment with House Majority Leader William Lamberth. We'll talk about other aspects of the special and what we can expect out of the general session as well. It's the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk.
A little better? All right. Cheese slope.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast and traffic coming up in 5 minutes. Right now in our nation's capital, President Trump on day one in office
to announce the largest AI infrastructure project by far in history, and it's all taking place right here in America.
Yeah, it's a joint venture from three companies, OpenAI, SoftBank, and Oracle, forming Stargate. They'll open with an artificial intelligence data center project in Texas and expand from there. This is a $500 billion project. The mass deportation operation already underway, according to Trump border czar Tom Homan, who tells Fox News immigration and customs enforcement teams have been directed to prioritize public safety threats. He says that includes those who are in the country illegally that have been convicted and arrested for serious crimes. But he says it's different in sanctuary cities where they're not allowed to get people in jail. It means they're going to have to go to the neighborhood and find these people. WTN's Chris Hand today asked Tennessee 2nd District Congressman Tim Burchett if he's going to run for governor.
Is there any consideration there?
Hey, I'm sorry. I just ran under a tunnel. I lost your signal. No, yeah, I'm honored. I'm honored. It's still early yet, brother. It's early. I'm a congressman, and I don't want to be. I don't want to overshadow anything I'm doing right now. And
Burchett's been tapped as a member of the Department of Government Efficiency to make recommendations on where to cut government waste to President Trump. He says Tennessee U.S. Senator Marsha Blackburn would make a, quote, excellent governor. And entertainment news. Garth Hudson, the keyboardist, who was the last surviving member of the Rock and Roll Hall of Famers, The Band, has died. He was 87. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. My bad, I forgot. I-40 westbound approaching Centerville-Dixon Highway 46. We've got a crash. Highway Patrol there on the scene. And then in Madison, 65 northbound after Old Hickory Boulevard, exit 92. In Fairview, Highway Patrol busy with a crash 40 westbound at Fairview-Dixon, exit 182. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy. I love talking about Men of Valor. It's just a wonderful organization. I met up with the gang at Men of Valor, Raul, and the rest of the crew, Tommy, when I first went to a Men of Valor breakfast downtown at Music City Center. And since that time, I've been so proud to be associated with this organization. Did you know that 90% of the men that go into the prison system will get out? And Men of Valor believes in crime and punishment. They believe that you do the crime, you commit an offense against society, you need to be punished as a result. But they also understand that the type of men that come out of the prison systems are likely to commit again unless they are discipled to, unless they see the power of God and the power of God's people. And that's where Men of Valor steps in. Can you be a Men of Valor? Can you help them? Can you volunteer in the prison system or act as a Bible study teacher, a mentor? Join Men of Valor by donating today at movministry.com. That's movministry.com. They truly help the state of Tennessee in so many different ways, and I'm proud to be associated with the wonderful organization that is Men of Valor. Hey, guys, my friends at Genesis Diamonds are so psyched for 2025, and I'm psyched to be talking about Genesis Diamonds. I love this organization. I've heard a lot about them, and ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, if you've never been, you are missing out. At Genesis, they have expanded their selection of incredible hand-picked diamonds from 1/2 carat to 15. I mean, we do live in Nashville, Tennessee, after all. 15 carats. I don't even know that I would be willing to hold a carat that big. But all shapes, all sizes, all budgets can be found at Genesis with their famous no middleman price. Here's the bottom line. There's a tier within the diamond buying system that creates middleman pricing. So the middle guy that sells it to the retail guys are going to mark it up, and the retail guys have to mark it up and sell it to you. They eliminate that middleman at Genesis Diamond, and as a result, they can pass savings along to you. It's just that simple. Get to Genesis Diamonds in 2025 and allow their non-commissioned experts, that's important to me, help you celebrate these important milestones, whether it's a birthday, an anniversary, or Valentine's coming up, or a just because. They guarantee the best value. Genesis Diamonds, luxury-owned Rolex timepieces available as well. Green Hills and Cool Springs, tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Genesis Diamonds. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. A fast-paced hour with William. I was picking on William, our House Majority Leader in the Tennessee General Assembly. I told him that I have a hard and fast rule that nobody gets to come on the show that talks faster than me, but I made an exception for him today.
Well, you're too kind. I appreciate that.
I pick because I love. You know,
That's all good with me.
You're good, man.
Hey, look,
we're getting a lot in. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. We
well,
need
I don't get to come over as often as I'd like, and Matt's a friend, has been since you came to Nashville. Really appreciate all the news and facts that you get out there. I mean, there's a lot of misinformation that gets out there, but you cut through that. So, I mean, I appreciate it.
All right, so I want to clear. I just want to clear the rest of the objections that I hear about the bill, about the Education Freedom Act, and then we'll move on to a couple of other aspects of the general. I want to ask you, or special. I want to ask you about the general. So, an objection that I have heard, and from some Republican members, this doesn't impact me. I'm in a rural community. We don't have any private schools in my community. This isn't going to help me. How do you respond to that?
Well, I mean, look, as I said earlier, man, I am elected by my folks in Sumner County to represent them, but the laws that we pass affect people statewide. And I heard you doing a commercial there on the break for Men of Valor. And, you know, if you do not have a good education, if you don't have a job, if you don't have a family environment around you, I mean, if you're drug addicted and dealing with mental health issues, those criminogenic factors make it extremely more likely that you either wind up in prison, and especially if you wind up back in prison. So whether you're in a rural community or an urban community, it is extremely important that all of our children get a good education and get a good job afterwards. And so these scholarships are, as you said earlier, just pouring more money back into the education system and making sure that parents have the choice that they need, and it's their tax dollars to begin with. All these 20,000 scholarships are going to go out to Tennessee citizens, and they cannot go to some illegal immigrant. They cannot. That's already in the bill. You've got to be a legal resident here, and you've got to be a Tennessee citizen. So these are people that are already paying in taxes, and I guarantee you just about everybody's paying more than $7,000 a year in sales tax and property tax and everything else. We're just giving a portion of that back to these 20,000 folks to invest in their kids' education. To me, that's a win-win.
Do you believe that come 10 days, 2 weeks from now, that this will be a reality in getting to the governor? Do you think that you've got the votes in the House and the Senate?
I do believe so. Yeah, in the House. I can only speak for the House, not the Senate. You have to talk to Jack about the Senate and everybody over there. But in the House, I mean, in talking to my colleagues and friends and those that I serve with, and look, nobody's threatening these people. Nobody's shifting them off of committees or something because of this. These are genuine conversations of, from a policy standpoint, do we believe that a parent knows better than the government on where their kids should go to school? And my answer to that is yes. And again, we choose public school in our household because I trust the public schools in Sumner County, because I've seen how they've guided my children through their educational journey, and they've done a great job. But not every parent, even in Sumner County, agrees with that. They should have options.
I'm certain that you've had so many discussions with Cameron Sexton, with Governor Bill Lee about this legislation. The one question that I asked him at the end, and I'll ask you about this too, is the $2,000 bonus structure. I mean, look, I on one side, I could describe it as, hey, this is an example of the way that we want to show our teachers we're behind them, our public educators, that we're behind them, that we're benefiting them. On the other side of things, I hear the word bribe. You're bribing the teachers. You're throwing this out there to get the teachers behind you. How would you explain it to the listening audience?
Now, this is literally just an appreciation that we have for our teachers as a one-time bonus. 7 out of the last 8 years, we provided raises for our teachers from the General Assembly, which again is the people's tax dollars that we have reinvested into public teacher salary increases. The problem is not every district actually makes sure that the teacher gets a raise. If we do a bonus, we can provide that from the state of Tennessee, from the people of the state of Tennessee, and we can allocate it directly to the teacher. So we can know that they're guaranteed to get that $2,000 bonus. So if we're going to have 965,000 kids in public school and potentially 20,000 scholarships, and there's 75,000 in private school, how do we make sure that we show those teachers that are teaching that 965,000 that we appreciate them? The best way I know how to do that is to get a direct bonus into their pocket that they can spend on whatever they want to, because they certainly deserve it. They've been busting their tail out there.
Shifting gears to rules, you guys were compelled per the rules of the House of Representatives several years ago, because you had some members in the minority party that would not comport themselves by the rules that members of the House agreed upon, to expel 2 members. They were then readmitted to the House of Representatives per the law, which is the way that it ought to be. Leadership carved out, and the members voted on this, kind of a second option for the body in the House of Representatives. And you just passed some new rules providing an opportunity to keep decorum, at the same time allow the minority an opportunity. I found it very funny when all of that was going down. While some members of the minority party, the Democrats, were screaming that they weren't allowed an opportunity to speak, we did a little sleuth, a little research, and came up with the top 10 speakers in the House of Representatives. I want to congratulate you, William Lambert, for being the only Republican that cracked the top 10. Despite the fact that the Republicans hold the supermajority in the House, you spoke. You were like 8th or maybe a little higher than that. I mean, but everybody else is Democrat. The same Democrats that claimed that they weren't getting the opportunity to speak spoke more than anyone else on the floor. So you feel, you shake your head, I think you feel comfortable that you're giving them an opportunity to have their voices heard.
Well, look, hypocrisy knows no bounds when it comes to a liberal. And what we did is just went and got the receipts. I mean, we have a couple of members of the minority party who like to say that they're never heard. And those of us that serve in that chamber, and those of all of you that actually watch session on a regular basis, there's one of those members that speaks on virtually every single bill. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, that's fine.
That person was elected by roughly the same number of folks that I was, roughly 70,000 people. They can speak on every bill if they want to. But then don't lie to the people and act like you're never heard, because you're recognized every time. And let's be clear, what 2 members, and quite frankly 3 members, should have been expelled for was taking a bullhorn to the well of the House and drowning out the voices of 96 other members. When we go down there, every single voice of the elected representatives that are there deserves to be heard on that floor. And we try to make sure that we have rules so that every person on that floor is heard. If we were in this environment right here in your studio, and somebody busted through that door and started yelling and screaming and grabbing these microphones and yelling and screaming over you and I, there would be no way for us to have a conversation or for us to be heard at all. So we had 3 members that decided to make it all about them and to take over the floor for 45 minutes with a bullhorn. We're never going to put up with that. And if somebody does that tomorrow, we're going to expel them again. But we do now have some other options where if it's not quite that egregious, but it's someone who just can't follow the rules, well, their constituents deserve to still have a vote. And so we put a rule in place where if you multiple different times, it's going to take 3, 4, 5 different times in the same day. If you violate the rules of the House over and over again that we're all bound to follow, then you will be allowed to, if you choose, go to a committee room and vote from there. You'll no longer be on the floor, but the next legislative day and a couple after that, you'd have to go to a committee room and vote from there. Because, again, just because they can't behave on the floor doesn't mean that their constituents shouldn't still get a vote.
I described it as alternative school back in the day. I spent a couple of days in alternative school when I was in high school.
You know, that doesn't surprise any of us, Matt. I mean, there's not a single person listening right now that surprises.
You go over there, you be real quiet, right? You know.
So by the way, I brought up in a school system where they still paddled the whole time I was coming through.
I
so
get that too.
There was no alternative school or an opportunity to go somewhere else. They just brought you into the principal's office,
get some
whooped
licks.
your tail, and if they were nice, gave you at least a few minutes to compose yourself before bringing you back to class. But there was no escape in school.
I know, I get it. What else? I mean, obviously the special session feels like the big lift in the General Assembly, but you surely are focused on other things. Budgets are always something of a consideration. What else is going on in the General Assembly once we get past this special?
Well, you know, from the first time that I ran, I mean, we focus on keeping government small. We focus on cutting taxes. We focus on trying to do everything we can to make sure we've got great educational opportunities out there for our kids, and to make sure that there's good jobs waiting for them after they get out of school. And then one of the things over the last several years that we've really focused hard on is community safety. 2 years ago, Memphis had 399 of their citizens murdered. 399, one of the most dangerous cities in the nation.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this year, preliminarily, and I don't have the final numbers yet, that number is down to about 285. Now, Nashville is similar in size to Memphis, and they have roughly 100 murders a year. Many times it's under that number. So when you think about that, 285 is significantly down, but still way too many.
Mm-hmm.
There is entirely too much violent crime in the city of Memphis. And as far as I'm concerned, and the Speaker of the House is concerned, if somebody gets a 10-year sentence for a violent crime, especially, you know how long they should serve? 10 years. It should not be some mathematical evaluation of that or some percentage of that. It should be 10 years. I've walked those hallways with victims of some of these violent criminals who are having to go before the parole board to beg for that offender to stay in prison, and they should never have to go through that. So with some of the bills that we put in, and I think some of the ones we'll put in this year, I hope that we continue to make the state safer, continue to cut taxes. You've seen we've got a bill out there to do away with the grocery tax, and we'll only do it if we can afford to do it without raising taxes on other people. The Democrats like to rob from Peter to pay
Hey, look,
Paul.
I convinced Afton Ben, Representative Afton Ben, who was talking her freshman year on the vote, wanted to repeal, and I had her on. I said, I'm all in favor of repealing the grocery tax, but you better pay for it without taxing me somewhere else. I mean, that's the key, right?
Yeah, but her bill is bait and switch. I mean, hey, we're going to cut taxes over here and raise them over there. So Elaine Davis, the very first time that I met her, she was running against Gloria Johnson for state representative at that time, and she lost that race, unfortunately, but this has been 6-8 years ago. And I asked her, and I ask a lot of folks when they run, I said, Elaine, why are you running for state representative? And one of the things she said way back then was she wanted to cut the grocery tax, and Republicans are the only ones that actually have cut the daggone grocery tax. So we've cut it by 1.25% already, and we're going to continue to make sure we make that a priority to just continue to cut taxes. We've cut $5.1 billion in taxes over the last decade. So at the same time we've cut $5.1 billion in taxes, we've put $1 billion into teacher pay raises and $3.8 billion total in additional funds for K through 12 public schools.
That math works, but based on growth, based on state growth?
Well, based on growth and the fact that we actually have weathered a tough economy a lot better than other states, and because we have a sales tax-based budget, our budgets have come in stronger than other states that base on income. Because when you go through really tough economic years, I mean, income is obviously one of the first things that's going to fall. Even when income falls, believe it or not, sales tax growth sometimes stays very robust.
Look, as time allows, I hope you're able to come back, stop back by. I know that you're in the busy season, right? Special session starting on Monday, general session soon after that. But I appreciate the majority leader stopping by and giving us a preview, especially the special, but also a little bit of the general session as well. Thank you, William.
Matt, just thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. It's an honor to always be on here. Appreciate your friendship. And again, thanks for just being a truth teller out there. It's just good to hear you preaching it out there every day, man. Thanks.
You're kind. There's William Lamberth. He is House Majority Leader. We'll have him back on very soon. We'll be back right after this, 52 after the hour. You're listening to Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So just on 4th Avenue South, right across the street from City Cemetery, there is Nashville Safe House. Mark and his team at Nashville Safe House are so good at what they do. And they focus on basically one thing, but I'll subdivide it into three things. They sell safes, they sell vault doors, they sell tornado shelters, they sell biometrics. That's a part of the safe family, right? And that's what they do. So they are experts in the category. They understand how to talk to you on your level to make sure that they're finding the right safe for you. So whether it's a gun safe, a corporate safe, a jewelry safe, you just want to save valuables in your home, they've got a shape and size for every budget. They have over 200 safes in stock on the floor, and then almost another 400 in their warehouses. That means they have the right safe for you, whether it's Browning, which has a great fire rating. They are one of the finest Browning dealers in the United States of America, have a better selection than anyone else in the USA. And if you have a better safe selection in the U.S. than anybody else in the USA, that means you have the best selection on planet Earth, right here in Nashville, Tennessee. Stop by and see them online at NashvilleSafeHouse.com or on the road, 4th Avenue South in Nashville. It's Mark and his team at Nashville Safe House.
Several Tennesseans sent to prison for January 6th have been released. We'll tell you about it at 6 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Thank you, Ken Weaver. Got about a minute or so before that 6 o'clock hour kicks in, and we'll listen to Ken. A lot of reaction to our conversation with House Majority Leader William Lamberth. I'm sorry that I did not get to all of your questions, but your comments are absolutely delicious, and I'm certain that were William still here, he would take them in good stride. Back-to-back comments, one person wants William to be the next governor of the state of Tennessee, and the next comment that I'm looking at right here says, worst haircut in Tennessee. So, I mean, I don't know. You know what? Both of those things can be true. And I would disagree. I mean, do you think, KGB, they're saying that mine is a lack of a haircut?
I thought you had it the worst haircut in the studio, so I'm shocked.
Mine's kind of a lack of a haircut, though, right? I mean, mine...
Well, that's why we got to work on your hairstyles. That's got to happen at the 6 o'clock hour.
I did this for Donald J. Trump and for the United States of America. Okay, locks for Trump.
Well, you have to, like, when it's time to cut it officially, you got to do it live on air.
Yeah, we're working on, you know what we're working on? We're working on a charitable component. I'm working on a barber shop that will allow individuals to come in with me, and we'll all get our haircut in like 10% or whatever we can manage. We'll go to a charitable organization like a Men of Valor organization or Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project.
Look at you,
like
big old softy.
That's what we're trying to do. All right, one more hour to go. Your telephone calls. Ken Weaver's newscast first on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hang in there.
Six o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast and traffic coming up in 5 minutes. At the White House tonight, President Trump joined by CEOs from 3 major tech firms announcing a new initiative called Stargate that will gather investments for the infrastructure needed to support artificial intelligence.
A new American company that will invest $500 billion at least in AI infrastructure in the United States and very quickly, moving very rapidly.
It's a joint venture from OpenAI, SoftBank, and Oracle, and will open with an artificial intelligence data center project in Texas and expand from there. Trump took questions about his decision to pardon January 6th rioters. The president said he judged their cases to be unfair.
He was given many years in jail. I thought it was very excessive. And at least the cases that we looked at, these were people that actually love our country, so we thought a pardon would be appropriate.
Channel 4 says several Tennesseans who were serving prison sentences have been released in connection to the pardons and commutations, including 29-year-old Ronald Maccabee of Unionville, 43-year-old Joseph Jose Lino Padilla of Cleveland, 32-year-old Eric Munchell, the zip tie guy of Nashville, and Michael Asbury of Knoxville. Tennessee 2nd District Congressman Tim Burchett telling WTN's Chris Hand Show this morning his 2 priorities as part of the Department of Government Efficiency are the Pentagon and education.
And I'm really looking forward to making some cuts, big cuts.
Burchett wants to get rid of the Federal Department of Education and give that money to states, which he says would go for higher teacher salaries, and other savings can be used to pay down the federal deficit. As for President Trump's cabinet,
I, Marco Rubio.
Sworn in by Vice President Vance, the first Trump cabinet member to be confirmed by the Senate pledged to follow the mandate he says he was given by the president.
It will be furthering the national interest of this country.
In Spanish, the new Secretary of State thanked his parents, who came to the U.S. nearly 70 years ago. Rubio said their aim was to make it possible for their children to live out the dreams they could not achieve. Then he switched back to English.
I just said I saved a bunch of money by switching to Geico. That's what I said.
Stephen Portnoy reporting. And the Trump administration has fired Coast Guard Commandant Admiral Linda Fagan. Fagan became the first woman to lead a branch of the U.S. military in 2022. The Coast Guard Commandant's appointed for a 4-year term. Fagan had served 2 years. A statement from a senior Department of Homeland Security official says Fagan was terminated, quote, because of her leadership deficiencies, operational failures, and inability to advance the strategic objectives of the U.S. Coast Guard. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. Picking up some crashes. South side accident blocking the right shoulder, 40 eastbound right before Fessler's Lane. In Madison, the right shoulder blocked, 65 northbound after OHB, exit 92. And in Goodlettsville, we got a crash with the off-ramp partially blocked. That is the 65 northbound off-ramp to Long Hollow Pike. Over near the airport, police on the scene of a crash, 40 eastbound at Briley Parkway East. And in Dixon, we've got 40 westbound approaching the Centersville-Dixon Highway 46 exit 172. And in Berryhill, a crash reported by police, 65 northbound at I-440. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is a mile a minute in Washington, D.C. Let me tell you something. As Donald Trump continues his first full day as the 47th president of the United States of America, we're observing, we're watching. The mainstream media, you wouldn't think that he's gotten anything done outside of the J6 prisoners being released. Speaking of, Stuart Parks, who was among those, in my opinion, unjustly incarcerated as a result of the January 6th, 2021 incident that happened at the United States Capitol. Stuart Parks will be with us and in studio tomorrow afternoon at 4:05. Stuart has been on the show in the past with us. He was on just before. He was incarcerated. I think ultimately he went to Memphis, Tennessee to be in a facility there. Spent about 6 to 8 months, I want to say, in jail unjustly. There was no reason to put Stuart Parks in jail except that it was a political persecution on the part of the Biden Justice Department, or not so Justice Department. Now, all of that to say, there were some aspects of the pardons that I have a little more concern with, and I'm not apologetic about that. Although I would suggest to you that just about everyone that has served a prison time, just about everyone that has been in jail, most of them were over-sentenced. Even some of the worst offenders, even some of those that got into altercations with police officers that chose to commit acts of violence against those police officers, those individuals, for the most part, have been in jail for a length of time that would satisfy me in terms of the judgment against them. I hope that makes sense to everybody. That if you broke windows, if you destroyed property on the grounds of the United States Capitol and you've now spent a year and a half or 2 years in jail, I think that's appropriate. Now, whether that should have been a commutation as opposed to a pardon, I can understand where reasonable people might disagree on that subject. So we'll continue that discussion. We'll continue the discussion of birthright citizenship, as we've been talking about. Another aspect of what Donald Trump has done, he has signed an executive order ending birthright citizenship. This sets up an argument to be made at the United States Supreme Court level, and I think it's an argument that needs to be decided at the Supreme Court level. The 14th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States says all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. Question is, what does the clause "and subject to the jurisdiction thereof" truly mean? And does that carve out an exception for those who come here, have babies? You know, we used to call them anchor babies. During the immigration debate, we called them anchor babies. So it's an interesting line of conversation there. To speak to us about all of these things and much, much more, we welcome back an old friend of the show at 8 minutes after 6 o'clock. His name is Steve Abramowitz. He runs Heartland Journal. Steve was in the thick of it in downtown Nashville yesterday, celebrating, as so many of us were, Inauguration Day in the United States of America. And he joins us via our Zoom hotline. Hello, Steve Abramowitz. How are you?
Hello, Matt Murphy. Congratulations on your new time slot.
Oh, thank you, brother.
A lot of things to say and a lot of time now.
I mean, let me tell you something. I mean, we're about to see a pace that we've not seen over the last 4 years. One of the more refreshing aspects of yesterday, there were a lot of things to appreciate about yesterday, Steve, but one of the more refreshing things is a president of the United States that has the stamina, the vitality, the ability to get all of this done in one day. I mean, it was pretty incredible to watch, wasn't it?
Yeah, obviously, with all those leather-bound executive orders, he was definitely prepared leading up to today. So it's not as if they were hot off the presses moments ago. But they knew all you had to do is, watch the 4 years of Biden's administration where they were coming up with these crazy ideas and just say, that one, that one, that one. And where he's blessed, I believe, is he's got a guy named Stephen Miller on the case. And that guy is no nonsense. He knows, he watched, he knew exactly what they needed to do day one to, I don't know, undo a lot of the nonsense. But the funny thing about an executive order is they don't have the law. They're not set in stone. They're not constitutional. They are just an order that can easily be overturned. So hopefully some of these things Trump actually does can be solidified with the Republican Congress to make it so that the next guy or gal can't just wipe his pen across a piece of paper and reverse it all.
Well, and we do too much of this in the executive branch. And, it goes to a point made by 8715. And I think our super texter 8715 thought that he was dinging me, saying, hey, make sure to criticize Trump for legislating by executive order instead of working with Congress, just like you did with Biden. Well, one, I would say, when did I do that with Joe Biden? What I did say about that is that far too many executives utilize executive action or executive order as opposed to working through Congress, because if you do it through legislation, you're going to have a more solid foundation within the law as opposed to what you just mentioned, Steve. If you do some of these things by executive action, maybe you have the legal right to do it, but it only carries weight until you leave office, and then the next guy coming along, whether they be, a member of the same party or not, can change the focus of that executive action or eliminate it entirely.
Yeah. Remember, it was Obama who said, I have a phone and a pen, and he only said that after he lost the Congress in the midterms, thinking like, well, I can't work with those folks anymore. I'm just going to have to be a dictator, and that's really what an executive order is, which is not the way our government is supposed to function. You're supposed to actually have the three branches of the government all working together to make sure that the laws are good laws, like overturning Roe versus Wade, for example. Obviously, you needed the Congress and the Supreme Court to go along with it in order to actually make something happen. You just throw an executive order out there, not so good, like saying we're going to take away your natural gas or your refrigerators or flushable toilets or the light bulbs. Yes, we have to live with that unless you want a big fine, but it's the Congress that's supposed to actually pass laws. Just like they're supposed to write the checks. And so when he was writing all this money out to Ukraine, $200 billion, and not enough for FEMA for Western North Carolina and Eastern Tennessee, well, there you go. That was supposed to be Congress doing that, and they weren't. It was handed over to the presidency for the last 4 years. Hopefully Trump will not use that as precedent and do that too.
Well, and I get what he's doing, rescinding so many of these executive actions. I understand what he's doing in terms of making, not just a political statement, but a statement from the executive branch. And some of these things are obviously well within his legal right? For example, declaring a national state of emergency on the southern border is something that should have been done long ago. Joe Biden wasn't concerned with it. I'm glad the president's doing that. I'm glad that we are finally seeing some action out of the White House in that regard. But would you join me, Steve, and I think you would, in suggesting that we need to get back to the normal way of things? In other words, laws are created by Congress, they're passed by Congress, they're executed by the executive branch. I guess to put a fine point on it, are we seeing too much of this executive action stuff?
Absolutely. Like I said, from Obama to then Trump to then Biden to now Trump again, it's back and forth on issues that matter to them. They used to say you can't pick winners and losers in the economy because of, a Cylinder will go bankrupt, but then a Tesla with maybe some wink and a nods will rise above everybody else. You shouldn't do that. That's crony capitalism. And so when it comes to executive orders, that's not the way this country is supposed to operate. The Congress, with a Republican majority, because that's the branch that's closest to the people, they should do these things, but they broke the system because Biden wasn't working with Congress. Obama wasn't working with Congress after the midterms, even going back to Clinton when he lost the midterms and he went to the middle to work with Newt Gingrich. You kind of saw regular order. You saw the Congress, the ones making the laws, passing them, and then the Supreme Court would either say it's not constitutional or wasn't. But they got tired of that. They got a little bored with that because they're so far left and so far right. Now it's just sort of, well, I'm the president and I'm of the Republican Party. I'm going to act like a Republican and we're going to do the things we like. And then the Democrats are going to freak out. And then when they get to be back in order, like when Carter was there, they're going to do the things that they like. And so we got into this situation where it's like ping pong. You can't really plan for 8 to 10 years out because you don't know what president's going to be there to say, yes, it's okay for you to use solar panels. And the next one's going to say, no, you can't. It's crazy.
Who do you believe, Steve? I mean, just kind of an open-ended question. I'm very curious where you are on this. Who's the most important cabinet nomination to get through right now? I mean,
Attorney General.
Tell me why.
Because the lawlessness that we've been through since I moved to Tennessee and prior to that, whether it be Antifa, BLM, Palestinian, Hamas, crime in the streets, DAs running rampant in sanctuary cities themselves, whatever. None of this can be cleaned up without a lawful, constitutional, legal-minded attorney general. And the one that we just had, Merrick Garland, was the exact opposite of that. He had judicial review, and he also had discretion to not do things. So you were talking earlier, where's the BLM and the Antifa punishment for burning down state houses in Oregon versus the Jan 6ers who had to stay in there for 4 years for breaking windows or trespassing on the grass? Because a lot of it was misdemeanors. Then you got a guy like Matt Perna who kills himself because they tried to hang on him a terrorist charge and he didn't think he could beat that. So the poor guy goes away. And his aunt tells everybody, they said that if he would have just waited another couple weeks, they would have removed that. Well, what the heck? You're playing with lives with that kind of stuff. So the attorney general needs to actually follow the letter of the law like she did in Florida, which is why Florida is probably one of the most conservative law and order states we've got going right now. Tennessee close behind, if not equal. To be able to right the ship, because I'm a believer in law and order and the Constitution. I love the Constitution and I want states to abide by the Constitution, whether it be the federal one or their own. And a lot of the blue states aren't doing that. And so here you get it again. You get a governor who's liberal. They're going to be a little bit like Walz, who let Minneapolis burn, versus, say, DeSantis in Florida, who's like, no, if you break into someone's house, it's okay to shoot them. Different opinions, right, in terms of conservative versus liberal governance, but we need a federal government to say, no, we're not going to pick favorites. We're going to call balls and strikes. And I think Pam Bondi could very well do that. The Matt Gaetz thing was way too tabloid dramatic for me. I'm glad that didn't work out, but she's at least a legal mind.
Steve Abramowitz, our guest. He has Heartland Journal, the podcast, Heartland Journal, the website. Go to heartlandjournal.com to find out more about Steve and everything that he does. He's a great transplant to the beautiful state of Tennessee, and we're proud to have him. In that spirit, though, Steve, and look, I'm not going to get too much heartburn about this, and here's why. And I'm talking Jan 6, because this is a byproduct of the Democrats' own making. They decided that this was the most important thing to ever happen in American history. Therefore, they overplayed their hand on the Jan 6th issue. They decided to over-prosecute Jan 6th, to include people who barely got on property, to include people who walked in freely, walked out, did not destroy anything, did not hit anybody, did not do anything. I mean, all of those people were obviously over-prosecuted and over-persecuted. That said, does it bother you at all, or do you have no concerns considering their past confinement, that there was somewhat of a blanket pardon involving even those that decided to commit certain acts of violence or destroy the U.S. Capitol in some way?
There's a lot of folks, right? I mean, 2,000, I think, 1,000 in jail, and only 200 have been let out so far. I think I have my numbers right. A lot of them were charged all the way up until last week. So I think yes, because again, there's the moral equivalency of what the damage that they did, billions of dollars on the left, and totally get out of jail free, basically, in Oregon and Minnesota. So that's not good. Then you've got folks who did basically misdemeanor trespassing or parading that were overcharged and had to go into jail. And I've talked to many of their lawyers. They're just not being listened to by judges. They're just being, it's draconian. They're held in solitary confinement. And so I just have to remind everybody, why were they arrested? What were they doing there on January 6th? It wasn't like it was the barbarians, with pitchforks and torches coming to burn the Capitol down. They were there because they felt that their vote was stolen in the election, and they wanted to voice their opinion, just like Trump had said peacefully and patriotically, we're going to march to the Capitol. That's all they felt that they could do, because they felt that the one thing that they could do every 4 years, which was vote for president, was stolen from them, whether they were right or not. That's what they believed, and they wanted to be heard. And the DC was not listening to them under Democratic Congress. And so they actually entrapped them, so to speak, by getting them all riled up. I've seen footage of, some smoke grenades that were dropped and some bullets, making people crazy. And they also keep saying that some police died that day. That isn't true. So there wasn't murder, and nobody was charged for murder.
So Ashley Babbitt's the only one that died that day.
And
right.
Rosen Boyland as well.
That's right, outside. You're right. I stand
Yeah.
corrected. That's right.
So 2 people died, but they weren't security guards. They weren't police like Merrick Garland said, or a lot of the politicians, Hakeem Jeffries, keep saying. They didn't die. It's just not true. No, they did not die that day. And so I believe it's overcharged, and I love that Trump is doing this, and I'm glad that he's not doing it. I actually met a few of the people who were in jail. I've had them on my show. The sheriff of January 6th here from Franklin, Tennessee, Maccabee.
Yeah.
His wife was on my show, and
Sarah
I just
Maccabee,
didn't.
yeah.
And they just said today the videos conclusively proved he did not attack the police. He was trying to save Roseanne Boyland's life.
Yeah, he was trying to help a woman out, and
But he was charged for attacking the police and spent time in jail, the same one that they sing the God Bless America every night for 4 years. So he was railroaded. There's a perfect example right here locally. And he should not have spent a day in jail. And they lied about his footage. They slowed it down to make it look like he was attacking people when he wasn't. He was trying to throw his body there like a police officer would do in a riot.
But we see, we see how the mainstream media is going to treat this, right? They won't talk about some of the positive impact of the first day. I'm watching some of these leftist outlets, and they are focusing on what they consider to be the worst of the J6 prisoners. And that's just how they're going to play it, right, for the next 4 years.
It's the same people that say that who was it? Elon Musk threw a Nazi.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's just the way they're going to play.
These people are so monstrous. I can't stand them. I mean, the whole reason I created the HeartlandJournal.com was because CNN kept lying about Antifa. I could care less about the rest of it, but it all came spilling out later because I'm like, man, they're not telling us what we need to know about a lot of stuff. And then I found a guy named Matt Murphy who calls it straight, but he's a libertarian, so I don't know.
How dare I?
The bottom line is the press is not. They haven't changed their ways yet. I mean, some of them have been fired. They got rid of a bunch of meteorologists. I don't know if you know this, but there's a lot of rot in the public domain when it comes to the press, and they just aren't doing us a service. And they're losing listeners, they're losing followers, they're listening to podcasts like mine, thank God, but they're not, they're winning prizes for just talking a bunch of smack because it fits the narrative of the day. And so when they talk about J6ers, you have to say, like, who's telling me this? Oh, it's NPR? Can't be true. Oh, it's CNN? No, probably not true. Oh, it's Fox News? Maybe not. They've kind of strayed. Is it 99.7 or Steve Abramowitz? Yeah, it's true.
Steve Abramowitz, our guest, heartlandjournal.com. Hold your thought there, Steve. I want to get to you on a state issue coming up in just a moment. 23 after the hour. We'll continue with Steve right after this, and I'll ask him the question, does he understand the argument on both sides of the Education Freedom Act bill that is set to be discussed and debated in the special session starting next week? It's the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk. Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy. It's cold, cold, cold outside. And when the cold comes, well, I mean, we had snow a week ago or so. And when that snow melts, you know what it turns into? Water. That's right. I was publicly educated in Georgia. Are your basement walls, are your foundation walls waterproof? Do you know? Is your crawl space waterproofed? Do you know? Do you have any visible cracks in the basement floor or walls that can be sealed before the snow comes again? Well, the question should be asked of your basement and foundation, because here's the deal. USS understands this. If you've noticed a problem and you try to ignore that problem, it will get worse. And USS, they are problem solvers. They want to problem solve for you before they have to charge you more money, because the situation has gotten considerably worse. So whether it's a foundation repair issue, maybe you've noticed doors sticking, windows sticking. Maybe it is a waterproofing issue where you've noticed water in the basement or crawl space, moisture, mildew, or that smell. If you've smelled that smell, you need to make the call to USS. They guarantee their best, and they've been in Middle Tennessee since 1994. USSTN.com. That's USSTN.com, or call 615-488-7855. 488-7855 for USS.
Several Tennesseans have been released from prison after President Trump's January 6 pardons. We've got these stories and the day's closing money news at 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
You know, I guess I should ask Steve Abramowitz about the original reason that we had him on the show, which was the movie business in the state of Tennessee. But I failed to do that in our first 12 minutes, Steve. So are we making more movies in Tennessee nowadays?
I hope so. I hope so. My mission has been to raise the grants that the state gives. I've been working with a wonderful Senator Jack Johnson to do that, and some Hollywood bigwigs. Tim McGraw's guy, Brian Kaplan, was with me in Cordell Hull when I got to make a presentation to the governor to get the raise in the last budget. When I landed here in Tennessee, it was $2 million, which is nothing. Craft services probably cost 10 for most productions, and now it's 10. So thanks to those folks, folks like let's see who was there with me. We got Faison gets it, Zachary gets it, Jody Barrett gets it. So I can name drop a lot of folks that made it happen. Patsy Hazelwood got it, but she's gone now, so I have to make friends with the new Gary Hicks, I believe, is the finance chair. So hopefully he'll listen to me, because I think we need to get that thing up to $100 million, because these independents really have the demand here. I work with Bob Raines, the Tennessee Film Commissioner, to come up with this idea in the first place. And the demand is there. And so it economically impacts every county in the state. It's a wonderful thing. Not very many government handouts, as we'll call them, have an 8 ROI, and this one does. And so I'm just trying to make the case that we need to do more and more of that. And as you know, I've worked with Kevin Sorbo, and I've worked with John Schneider, and I've worked with Howie Klausner, who wrote the Reagan movie. And we're all just trying to do what we want to do, which is make our entertainment here in Tennessee and not go to Georgia, your hometown, or Alabama or Arizona, or the Cherokee Nation of Oklahoma, which gives a 40% rebate check. So, and it's, you wanted to ask me about schools, and it plays right in there, because a lot of these kids that graduate from Vanderbilt or Belmont in entertainment, they have to leave because the business is not here so much. It's in Georgia, or it's in obviously Hollywood, it's in New York. I want them to stay here and make these amazing hero stories, with the John Sevier or a Davy Crockett right here.
I mean, obviously, this is an idea where, you believe that an investment on the part of the taxpayers of the state of Tennessee in the form of grant money will come back in spades in terms of the amount of economic activity that will come to the state as a result. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes, sir. And in every county, the economic impact report that the Tennessee Film Commission put out, there'll be a new one next month, is all 95 counties have projects going on right now. So they want to do it, and they will do it. They just don't get that wonderful stamp at the end of the movie, like when you see an Avengers film and there's that Georgia peach because they filmed it in Georgia and the Georgia Film Commission had some skin in the game. You're clever. You could come up with the idea, but maybe a Davy Crockett coonskin hat. That's the stamp of a Tennessee film production. And we can be proud of it and say, that's it. Because that's the difference. It's a Heartland Journal story. It's not a Hollywood corrupt the children, all the terrible things that Disney will put out, or Warner Brothers, that we don't like. We want it to be Heartland, Tennessee values, Tennessee stories that we can.
Well, we will have you back on plenty to keep us up to date with that. Obviously, we need to do more of this in 2025, Steve. I'm sadly out of time right now. I got to get to the news, but you know how much I appreciate Heartland Journal. I encourage people to go over there and see everything that you're doing for the state of Tennessee. And you look like you were having fun on Lower Broad with Cat Turd yesterday. So.
Oh, yeah. Check out
John
the Twitter.
Rich.
It was fantastic. Yeah. We love 99.7.
Thank you, brother. All right, there's Steve Abramowitz. We'll be back in a moment. Here comes Ken Weaver in the news.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. And at a White House event tonight where he took questions from reporters on his first full day of his second term, President Trump grilled about his decision to pardon January 6th rioters. The president said he found their sentences excessive.
These people have already served years in prison, and they've served them viciously. It's a disgusting prison. It's been horrible. It's inhumane. It's been a terrible, terrible thing.
Several Tennesseans who were serving time have been released in connection to the pardons and commutations, including 29-year-old Ronald Maccabee of Unionville, 43-year-old Joseph Jose Lino Padilla of Cleveland, 32-year-old Eric Mungel, the zip tie guy of Nashville, and Michael Asbury of Knoxville. The Food and Drug Administration launching an investigation after more than a dozen cats have been killed or sickened by bird flu spreading in raw food products. This probes to figure out how the virus got into the pet food supply chain. Cases have been in California, Colorado, Oregon, and Washington State. Money News, Michelle Franzen.
Stocks ended the day higher on news that companies like Charles Schwab and 3M made more money at the end of last year than expected. The Dow gained 538 points, the NASDAQ grew 127, and the S&P added 53. The Dow also rose on news that President Trump would not enact tariffs right away, instead holding off until February 1st. Economists took that to mean tariffs are a lower priority than feared. President Trump also moving to announce a $500 billion artificial intelligence project. It'll be called Stargate. That'll be a venture of 3 companies, OpenAI, SoftBank, and Oracle. Walgreens stock sank 9% after the Justice Department accused the chain of filling millions of prescriptions without legit purpose. Walgreens says it stands behind its pharmacists. JetBlue will now take Venmo for direct bookings on its website. It is the first airline to accept the payment option.
That's the latest news, traffic, and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey, friends, Matt Murphy for Stoltz Co. So you have a little property and you're thinking about building. What type of building? Don't buy one of these prefabricated deals. You need to go to Stoltz Co. and figure out what they've got going on. And they've got a lot going on. I would encourage you to write this website down because you'll want to go here once we're done. STOLTZ.com. That's Stoltz.com for Stoltz Co. If you own land, if you're thinking about doing something with your land or your money, I want you to put your money into real assets by building on that property. And with Stoltz Co., they're building high-quality, customized structures at reasonable prices. They build barn dominiums. I didn't even know what a barn dominium was until I sat down with Stoltz Co., and I kind of learned the parameters there. And you can build, it is a much less expensive way to build a beautiful home. A barn dominium could be on your property with Stoltz Co. Also, pole barns, garages, equestrian spaces, and even event spaces. If you're thinking about a man space, I mean, they call them man caves, man barns, man pole barn. Come on now. Stoltz Co. is your location. I want you to call them at 615-622-5992 for more information. That's 615-622-5992, or visit them online at Stoltz.com, STOLTZ.com. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Stoltz Co.
Goodlettsville crash blocking the off-ramp. That's 65 northbound to Long Hollow Pike. Antioch, 24 eastbound at Haywood Lane. And in Woodbine, Nolensville Pike at Antioch Pike. Near the airport, police reporting a crash 40 eastbound at Briley Parkway. And in Berry Hill, a crash reported 65 northbound at 440. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Grace Point Healthcare is located right in the heart of Franklin, and I encourage you to research for yourself and find out the way that Grace Point Healthcare does their business. It's different than any other company that I've been a part of, and let me tell you, they offer affordable, convenient, and comprehensive medicine, and they do it the old-fashioned way. Do you know if your doctor is doing the right thing by you, or do you feel like sometimes maybe they're doing what they're told to do by the insurance companies or other outside figures that should not be between the relationship between your doctor and yourself? You don't worry about that at Grace Point Healthcare, and that's the wonderful thing. Grace Point Healthcare provides, they are ultimately your primary provider that treats the entire family from newborns to seniors. Bottom line is this, friends. You know what you're getting at Grace Point Healthcare, and that is personalized healthcare the old-fashioned way with a modern medicine approach. They're a direct pay primary care provider, which means all treatment decisions are made between you and their medical staff. Ask them more about this when you make the call that so many others have made to Grace Point Healthcare. I know as soon as I stepped in, as soon as I sat down, and as soon as I heard the business model, I said, this is for me. I absolutely love it, and I know that you will too. 599-6868. That's 599-6868 to schedule your next medical appointment. You really can afford exceptional medicine at your convenience with Grace Point Healthcare. Modern medicine delivered the old-fashioned way. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Man, oh man, waning moments of the show. I have so much to get to in so little time. I apologize. I feel like I've wasted some time today. I don't like to do that. Billy Ray Cyrus, was he drunk? Was he high? Was he a little of both? Did you see any of that? I mean, I felt bad for Billy Ray. Billy Ray acted like he needed to be carted off to some sort of treatment facility after his performance last evening.
It was more than just like being drunk. There was definitely, it was a cocktail of things. That wasn't
like
a normal.
Some sort of like pills maybe or something like that?
Chris Hand, when we were doing the cross with Dan Mandis, he said he thought opioids. Like that was his theory.
Yeah, I mean, it was tough. I mean, it was a tough watch. I'll put it there. I turned the channel.
It was uncomfortable.
It made me uncomfortable, and I turned the channel because I don't like to watch a guy. I mean, you know what it reminded me of? Have you seen the modern version of A Star Is Born with Bradley? What's his name? Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga.
I haven't, but I have heard very good things about the movie itself.
You should see it. It's really good. It's a repeat of a repeat of a. I mean, they've done like 5 versions of A Star Is Born. But in this version, I don't think I'm giving anything away. Spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, just in case. I don't want to get anybody mad at me, but there's a scene where he's fallen just hard. She's ascending, right? He's a star. He makes her a star, and then he falls on hard times, and he's drunk and, is doing all these things. And he goes up on stage to, I forget why and he loses his faculties right there on stage in front of God and everybody. And, there's no coming back from that.
Yeah.
And I felt that kind of that way about Billy Ray. But anyway, wish him the best, he's a human being. Hopefully he can get the help that he needs. Secondarily, then there's this. The media's back, baby. They are back to being hardcore, inquisitive, and mean. Donald Trump stood by his decision today to issue pardons to more than 1,000 people involved in the Jan 6th rioting. Trump told reporters, well, I'll just let you listen.
Not acceptable for a full pardon. But these people have served years of jail, and their lives have been ruined. And in many cases, listen to me for a second. Stop interrupting.
Yeah, I mean, so The media that would sit there and allow Joe Biden to babble and mumble and stumble and accepted that Joe Biden refused to answer questions, refused to hold press conferences, would not allow the press access to major parts of his administration. Now you have a president that allows these folks in, and here we go with the rudeness and the nastiness of the mainstream media. Because what? Because they've decided they don't like what Donald Trump's doing. Guess what? The country decided that we want Donald Trump. We made our decision on November 5th. And on January 20th, yesterday, the culmination of that decision happened at high noon Eastern time. It is amazing to me how magnanimous and snotty these people in the mainstream media are. The hashtag never see an ends of the world. How dare you suggest to us that he's doing the wrong thing? We just elected the guy. And you repeatedly told us during the course of that election, you repeatedly told us that he was Adolf Hitler. And you're still clapping that same garbage. It's enough to make me sick. In the meantime, in happier news, President Donald Trump unveiled today his plan to create an artificial intelligence data center with SoftBank, OpenAI, and, wait for it now, Oracle. Hey, that's going to impact us, right? Right here in Nash. Oracle is a big deal. They've got their campus up there on the North Bank. Oracle, the largest AI infrastructure project in history. The project, dubbed Stargate, includes an investment of $100 billion that is slated to grow to $500 billion over Trump's term in office, and will build a colossal data center in the U.S. to power AI. Trump said the project will create thousands of jobs for Americans who work in big, beautiful buildings. An initial data center will launch in Texas, with others following in other states at a later time. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman, Oracle CEO Larry Ellison, who, once again, that's headquarters, right? Right there in, off the North Bank, right off the Cumberland. SoftBank CEO Masayoshi-san. That's the man's name. What are you giggling about? It's the man's
Nothing,
name.
I was not giggling. That is fake news.
Masayoshi-san.
Oh, no, you didn't.
That's it. Masayoshi-san. That's his name. Masayoshison.
Do you have to bow while you say it, though?
I did. Well, yeah. That's a sign of respect. They joined Trump at the White House to announce the effort. Massive group of talent, said Trump. And he also, in the midst of all of this, explained his decision to pull John Bolton's Secret Service detail during a press conference. Bolton, who at one time served as Donald Trump's national security advisor during his first term, a short-lived event, before getting fired by the president, had his U.S. Secret Service protection detail discontinued by Trump in his first 24 hours in office. During his Tuesday press conference, his press conference today, he's now held 2 press conferences in as many days. How many press conferences in the first week? Probably 7. He doesn't mind. He'll answer anything and everything, unlike the last guy who ran from the press. Trump said, I think it was enough time. You take the job. You want to do a job. We're not going to have security on people for the rest of their lives. Why should we? He went on to say that he thought Bolton was a, quote, very dumb person, and asserted that he thought that he used him well because every time people saw me come into a meeting with John Bolton stand behind me, they thought that he'd attack them because he was a warmonger. Gotta love Donald Trump. I hadn't read that clip. He got us involved along with Cheney and a couple of others, convinced Bush it was a terrible decision. He's talking about Iraq. To blow up the Middle East, they blew up the Middle East and they got nothing out of it except death. We killed a lot of people, and John Bolton was one of those guys that helped do it. That is Donald Trump on John Bolton. In the meantime, you on the super text line, 6289 says, tell KGB to go get some sleep. 3 a.m. comes early.
It indeed does.
2213 says, y'all should let Dan do the pole barn commercial. Well, he does the pole barn commercial. He does Stoltzko as well.
Yeah, he does Stoltzko, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We share that
They should sponsor the Dan poll. The Daily Dan poll.
Jason says that you should just sleep in the news closet, KGB.
I have honestly considered it, but I don't have blankets. So,
well, we could figure something. I got a dog blanket in my car. I do. It's got a lot of hair on it. And
I was about to say.
And by the way, thank you all. A point of personal privilege, all of you that have responded. I mentioned earlier today, I'll mention it again, that we took the dog, Munson. And you know what? It's quite something that this happened this way. Because apparently, we took Munson, I took Munson to the emergency clinic a couple of weeks ago because he was throwing up. And, after a certain amount of time of throwing up, you get a little worried and you want to make sure that everything's okay. We tried to take him to our normal vet. Our normal vet couldn't see him. That's just the way of the world. I'm not knocking our normal vet. Our normal vet's mad at me because I said something about it on the radio and wrote something about it on Facebook. I didn't even name the vet that we go to, but people figured it out. Our normal vet's mad at us because I'm like, I just don't like the idea of when your dog's sick, you call and you can't get an appointment. Well, my dog's sick. Well, we can see him in 2 weeks. Whatever. My dog's sick right now. Anyway, be that as it may, we went to the emergency services, Nashville Veterinarian Services, to their emergency clinic. And I related that story to you, and they were great. But they discovered, so Munson was there because he was throwing up, couldn't keep food down. Well, apparently, he just got into something, ate something that, gave him a stomach bug for a few days because he hasn't been throwing up since. And his throwing up has nothing to do with what we ultimately discovered. They gave him a tip to stern diagnosis, and we found a tumor in his anal duct that has to be removed. So we learned today, we went to the oncologist and saw the surgeon and learned today that we would have to have surgery. Munson's 9.5. And so this is a condition common to older dogs, or not relatively common to older dogs. We were told that it was rare, but not extremely rare. And he has to have surgery to remove the tumor. It is not metastasized into the rest of his system. And you guys know, dogs are like family for many of us. I know some people think of it differently, but not many of us. And if your dog is a family member, you know how tough it is because they can't tell you what's wrong and when it's wrong. You've got to figure it out on your own, and they are just so very innocent when it comes to that type of thing. So hopefully we'll get through it. I guess surgery is scheduled for next Tuesday, and we'll take him in early.
That's
in the
a quick
morning.
turnaround.
Yeah, they wanted to get to it quick. It's an aggressive grower, apparently. Yeah. While it has not metastasized, he had his anal glands. Thankfully, human beings don't have anal glands that have to be expressed.
Is that true?
We don't have anal glands. We have an anus. KGB. Don't worry. I'll let you know. When we get off air, I'll give you the birds.
Dude,
and the
I'm going
talk.
Straight to bed after the show.
I'll give you the bird bee anal talk in a couple of minutes. Anyway, so dogs have anal glands, and you have to express them, and it's just kind of a byproduct of their wolf days. One way or the other, I don't want to dig too deeply into it, but the bottom line is we had that happen in April, and they did not detect it then. So the idea is it was small enough then. It's gotten a lot larger now. I say all that to say thank you. We're one big family. Y'all are very sweet. Y'all are very kind to ask about Munson, and I appreciate you so much. And I'll keep you up to date on what is going on as we try to keep you up to date with everything that's going on around the globe on the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We'll finish up in just a moment, 52 after the hour. Ladies and gentlemen, when I talk about J.K. Brister, Erica Brister, I'm talking about American patriots. These are good people that believe in this country. One of the reasons that you see, when you see a U.S. Pest billboard, they're all over town. And when you see that U.S. Pest billboard, you're going to see that American flag flying over it. Why? Because J.K. and Erica understand the blessings of freedom and liberty that we enjoy in these United States. And God bless America. It's right there in their name. U.S. Pest also provides you common sense pest protection throughout your home and on your property, and you should not stop that protection during the winter months just because you don't see as many ticks or fleas, because you've got another invasive type of pest, a lot of them, as a matter of fact. I'm talking the roaches. They want your warmth and they want your food. The mice, they want your warmth, want your food. Rats, same deal. These critters come into your home, they take up residence, and they're not going to leave unless you make them leave. And you make them leave with U.S. Pest. Full-service pest control, termite protection, and crawl-space service available for you at the good old U.S. Pest. Ask them about their referral program where you could receive $50 credit on your account. Ask them about their protection service. Ask them for a free estimate. USPest.com. That's USPest.com, or call 590-1260, 590-1260. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to U.S. Pest.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
It doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Lots going on. Man, oh, man. Pete Hegseth is before the Senate of the United States of America as a possible replacement for Lloyd, what's his name? Austin, I guess that's the name, for Secretary of Defense. Pete Hegseth is eminently qualified in this regard. Liberal media outlets are currently announcing or declaring that a fresh batch of allegations have been leveled against Pete Hegseth and are before the United States Senate right now. You need to get this guy confirmed. Liberals are going to get more and more desperate as the days and weeks go by. The first full day in the White House for Donald Trump was chock full. You had this AI announcement. It's absolutely huge. The reaction to his pardoning of the J6 protesters. He announced plans to visit North Carolina on Friday. We will speak to our man Steve Ansel about that tomorrow or Friday. I think actually Thursday. And then he's actually going out to California as well. The president of the United States is as well. Oh, man, it's going to be a heck of a week, heck of a year, heck of a presidency. Thank you for listening to the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Mark Levin, the great one, up next. So long, everybody.